On your knees, push your knees out really wide and drop your shoulder. Have a look behind. Have you got your knees out really wide for that inner thigh stretch? And back the other way. Pushing right back and stretching your knees out wide at the same time. Come into the middle, roll your body up, and then roll it down. And flatten your back and roll it up. Arching your back like a cat and then pressing down. Roll up, arch your back like a cat and press your chest toward the floor. One more time, roll it up and press it down. That's perfect. Now rolling up, reach your arms up, reach to one side, reach to the other, climb the invisible rope. That's the rope you used earlier. Remember the one when you were skipping? Climb to the top and release. All right, a hamstring stretch. Nice and gentle. Your muscles are really warm. So you'll probably find that as you're doing this hamstring stretch, it feels more comfortable than it did in your warm-up when your muscles weren't quite so warm. You hadn't worked really hard just yet. This is the perfect time to work on your stretches when you're really, really warm. Let's go the other way. Stretch, pull your toe back. Can you feel that deep into the body of your hamstring, the back of your upper leg? Good work. Okay, now's the time you can push your heel to the ground with a calf stretch. If you're near a wall at home or the back of a chair, you can hang on, and I want your toes pointing in the same direction and your heel pushing to the ground. What we don't want is for your back foot to be turned out. What would happen there? See, if Julia were to do that, she wouldn't be getting an adequate stretch through the calf. By turning her toe round to face the other toe, a beautiful stretch right down the back of her leg. Change sides. Okay, turn and push that heel right down. Your calf muscles worked really hard today, so this is a really important stretch. Make sure you do your calf stretch. And when you're done, you can give yourself a drink of water and a good pat on the back because you've done a great job.
NTV, turning on your world.
Soon on NTV.
Many generations ago, the warrior Apoena from the Karaway tribe fell in love with young Antonia. When they returned to the Araguaia River with the young white girl carrying their child, they awoke Iaru's hatred. Raised away from the curse, Solano Rangel, the last descendant of Antonia and Apoena, returns to uncover his roots, but he couldn't resist Estella's charm. But she keeps a secret in the past.
Estella.
Her real name is Estrella Karaway, and her destiny is to fulfill the curse. Destiny River.
Coming soon on NTV.
Every idea we have begins with you. The way you connect.
Good morning.
How you browse. How you share. And how you interact with the world around you.
Your relationship with your God is the most important thing.
Have a company of people who have got a similar mindset.
How do you want people to think, feel, and act after your talk? In other words, what's your objective?
You inspire everything. Because in the end, innovation doesn't really matter unless it does something that really matters to you. And we are HTC.
NTV, turning on your world.
NTV akawungezi nyongedde okubaaniriza nate nze Farida Nakazibwe. Tutandise ne Speaker wa Parliament Rebecca Kadaga olwaleero awuniikiriza ababaka bw'alagidde Clerk wa Parliament okussa mu nkola kkooti etaputa amateeka byasazeewo ku babaka abana abaagobwa mu kibiina ki NRM. Kkooti eno yasalawo nti ababaka Theodore Sekikubo, Muhammad Nsereko, Barnabas Tinkasimire ne Wilfred Niwagaba bave mu Parliament era akakiiko k'ebyokulonda kategeka okulonda mu bwangu.
Speaker walabiseko mu Parliament olwaleero emu ku nsonga ebadde ku mimwa gy'ababaka y'okuteeka mu nkola ekyasalibwawo kkooti etaputa amateeka ku babaka abaagobwa mu kibiina kya NRM. Speaker ategeezza ababaka nga bwe yafunye okusalawo kwa kkooti etaputa amateeka era n'abasomera ebyamusabiddwa omuli n'ekyababaka bano omuli Sekikubo, Tinkasimire, Nsereko ne Niwagaba okuva mu Parliament.
The above mentioned continue sitting in Parliament or take part in any parliamentary activity, either in the committees or elsewhere, and also stop payment to them of any salaries or allowances or other emoluments and entitlements, save for those that may have accrued to them immediately before the issuance of the court order.
Speaker wano kwe kutegeeza nga bagenda okugondera ekiragiro kino era n'asaba omuwandiisi owa Clerk wa Parliament okulaba nga kiteekebwa mu nkola.
This will inform you, members, about the orders of the court which are about to comply in the absence of the stay of execution. I have notified the four members about the decree and instructed the clerk to Parliament about those instructions.
Kino kitegeeza nti ababaka bano tebakyalina kafo mu Parliament era nga Clerk wa Parliament alina okutegeeza akakiiko k'ebyokulonda nti ebifo byabwe kati byereere. Wabula ababaka bano bakyalina omukisa nti singa bajulira mu kkooti esembayo baba basobola okusigala mu Parliament okutuusa ng'omusango gwabwe gusaliddwa. Olunaku lw'eggulo bategeeza kkooti ey'oku ntikko nga bwe bagenda okujulira. Abamu ku babaka be twogeddeko nabo bagamba nti kkooti esembayo yesobola okuyamba ababaka bano mu mbeera eriwo.
Naye ekyo si enkomeredde kubanga tukyalinayo kkooti ejulirwamu ababaka baffe bagenda kuddayo bajulire era nga mmanyi nti kkooti ejulirwamu eyinamu ak'ensusso n'enkizo ku kkooti endala.
Kati kibakakatako okuleeta okujulira okwo Speaker abeere ng'akuyina ekyo kijja kuba butegeeza nti kkooti eri bye yasazeewo bikyayimiridde bajja kubeera mu Parliament okutuusa nga kkooti ey'oku ntikko emaze ate okusalawo.
Naye banaagendayo nabo ne bagamba nti bakyamu kimbasaba kiri kimu kugenda mu bantu. Abantu ye kkooti esingayo obunene. Nze mbya politics sagala nagenda mu kkooti zino endala njagenda mu kkooti esingayo obunene yebe bantu.
Kyokka waliwo ababaka abagamba nti Uganda kati eri mu nkola ya bibiina nga n'olwekyo obwakiwagi tebukyalina kifo.
Ne banayongerayo still ruling ejja kubeera y'emu kubanga mu constitution okuva lwe twasalawo system eya multi-party setting buli tteeka lyonna twalikola liri in conformity with multi-party set practices.
Ababaka bano abagobeddwa tebabaddewo mu Parliament olwaleero kyokka baategeeza ssabbiiti eno nti beetegefu okuddayo mu kalulu.
NTV akawungeeza ebibuuzo by'abayizi 108 bye bikwatiddwa ekitongole ky'ebigezo ki UNEB ku bigambibwa nti beenyigira mu kubba ebigezo wabula obutafaananako nga bulijjo ku luno amasomero g'abayizi bano tegaatuddwa. Ebivudde mu bigezo ebifulumiziddwa olwaleero biraga nti abalenzi be basinze bannaabwe abawala okukola obulungi. Amasomo ge basinze okukola obulungi kuliko chemistry, biology ne agriculture. Abayizi abagudde enkoona n'enywa bali mu 2.2.
Ebibuuzo bya senior ey'okuna eby'omwaka gwa 2013 bifulumiziddwa ku makya ga leero era abayizi 29,154 be baatula ebibuuzo bino bwogerageranya ku 26,889 omwaka oguwedde. Kino bakitadde ku nkola ya gavumenti eya Universal Secondary School Education. Omwaka guno abaana bakoze bubi nga 26,114 be bayise ate 2.2 be bagudde ebibuuzo. Chemistry abayizi gwe basinze okukola obubi.
Kusooka tetulina abasomesa bamala abasayansi abatono be tulina ate bavaawo ne bagenda wa ebweru bagenda Rwanda, Namibia twanya abasomesa baffe kati.
Ku mulundi guno abawala bakoze bulungi mu masomo g'oluzungu so nga abalenzi basobodde okubasinga mu masomo amalala.
Ababooda bafuuse babooda ku baana abawala be banyumirwa okubatwalako abo nabo ne batawaanya obwongo bw'abawala ne concentration. Okusobola okuyita ebigezo bino weetaaganga obulamu bwo n'amagezi go gonna gonna gali ku kusoma.
District ezisinza okukola obulungi mulimu Mukono, Wakiso, Kampala, Bushenyi, Masaka, ate abakoze obubi mulimu Kyankwanzi, Namayingo, Amolatar, Nakapiripiriti ne Kaberamaido. Ebibuuzo by'abayizi 1800 bye bikwatiddwa nga bano bateberezebwa okuba nga beenyigidde mu kubba ebibuuzo.
Kale nno naye tutegese abaana ewaawo mboneeze ebigezo batabifuna naye tugezaako okukwata abo bennyini abakola ekintu ekyo. Omusomesa abo tuba tumukutteko babagana tujja kumujjako obusomesa bw'ebbaluwa ye.
Minisita w'ebyenjigiriza alabudde ababba ebigezo okweddako oba si kyo kakubajuutuka.
Once investigations are concluded, I ask UNEB to forward this report to the Ministry of Education and Sports for expeditious action. I direct UNEB to withdraw the examination center numbers of the schools that have persistently featured in malpractice.
Okusunsulamu abayizi kwakolebwa nga nnaku z'omwezi 6 ne 7 omwezi ogujja, ate bo abayizi bakutandika okusoma nga 17 March. Suhail Mugabi, NTV Akawungezi.
Babale nnyo Suhail Mugabi mu buufu bwe bumu obwo kabadde kaseera kabonkenke eri abayizi n'abasomesa nga ebivudde mu bigezo bisomebwa. Awamu babadde mu kucaccanca so nga abalala ababadde tebannaba kubifuna amaaso gabamyuse. Din Lubowa Sava atalaaza ebitundu ebyenjawulo bino byajja ku masomero.
Omwana ono yadde banne babadde mukeetalaako okumanya ebivudde mu bigezo. Ye abadde ali ku ssomero ng'azimba ng'akalagaane ke baakola n'essomero okusasula ebisale bye olw'okuba nga bazadde be baabo. Bwe bamubuulidde nti y'omu ku bakozi obulungi mu bigezo bino, bazimbi banne babadde nabo ne bamuyozaayoza okutuuka ku buwanguzi buno era n'atubuulira naye obugubi bw'ayiseemu.
Nga Richard Director w'essomero nga yanyambako nasasula half bursary nange nesasulako ekitundu. Then awo mu senior 2 ku senior 4 lwa empisi zange ennungi n'okusoma okulungi nagezaako namperera nesomera ddala ku full bursary nange kati vaaka bwe yatuuse nensaamu nengamba kasigala ono nga mupota ku bizimbi abadde azimba.
Ku ssomero lino lye limu eryansambya Hillside High School, abayizi baayo nabo bakoze bulungi era ng'essanyu lye babadde nalyo libadde likira ery'omwoki wa gonja.
Ekyanyambye okukola obulungi obwaleero nabadde nsoma nnyo nga nkola revision nga nseekinga advice mu basomesa bange.
Kinyambye okuyita obulungi basomesa bange abadde determined n'okusoma ennyo.
Mu balala abakoze obulungi era mu Kampala mulimu Maryland High School Entebbe, Zana Mixed School Ezana ne Turkish Light Academy Rweza.
To announce to you that in the just released UC examination for 2013, we got 18 first grade.
Omusaafe ne amanyi ge bateekamu mu bigezo byaffe okubeera nga tutuuka we tutuuse era tusanyuse nnyo okubeera nga ffenna tuyitidde wamu.
Nayitidde mu ddaala erisooka era abasomesa bange ne bye bataddemu byonna bye byatusobozesa okuyita.
N'emikwano gyange badde nange abazadde bange nga bansaamu amaanyi ne bazame andi enfudde kyendi.
Yo mubaka wa Parliament Dr. Yebo wa municipality y'e Bushenyi essanyu katono limuyuze olwa mutabani we okukola obulungi.
Omwana katakoze bulungi alina 8 mu 8.
Era mu balala abakoze obulungi mulimu Uganda Mater Secondary School na Mugongo. Bano nga bo buwanguzi bwabwe babwesigamiza Katonda era obuyimba obukoolo by'omutonzi ne butandika.
That our dear candidates 2013 senior 4, there are 162 and we have 161 first grade.
Ne mu balala era batuuse ku buwanguzi mulimu Muyenga High School e Muyenga, Maryland High School e Kawempe, Juliana Schools e Gayaza, Mpoma Schools e Mukono ne Mount St. Henry's e Mukono.
Ndi musanyufu nnyo kubanga tuyise mu ssomero lino nfunye aggregates 21 naye ndi musanyufu nnyo nnyo.
Okusinziira ku aggregates ze nafuna mu bigezo bya P7 nafuna aggregates 25 naye nsanyuse nnyo okuba nti nsobodde okufuna aggregates 16 mu bibuuzo by'esifu.
Ate masomerera amalala agali ebweru wa Kampala mulimu Munta High School e Bombo, Royal Giant School e Mityana, nabo ng'era be bamu ku ababeetise obuwanguzi buno.
Era twebaza Katonda olw'obuwanguzi buno n'abasomesa baffe.
Dini Robo Wasava, NTV Akawungezi.
NTV Akawungezi etteeka ku buseegu lyongedde okwogeza abantu ebikankana nga n'olwaleero ababaka abakyala bavuddeyo ne bambalira minisita akwasisa empisa Father Simon Lokodo olw'okwogera ebitakwatagana. Ababaka bategeezezza olwaleero nga etteeka lino bwe lisaana okuddamu okutunulwamu.
Okuva etteeka ku buseegu lwe lyassibwako omukono President Museveni kati ssabbiiti 2 n'omusobyo, abantu bangi okusinga baasalawo okwesiba ku kwambala nkunamyo. Wadde mu bbaga eryasooka okuleetebwa mu palamenti, kino kyassibwa ku mwanjo, etteeka eryafuluma kino kyalireka bbali. Wabula kino tekyagaana abantu kugenda na kyankunamyo nga n'abakyala babadde batandise okwambulwa. Minisita akwasisa empisa naye azze ayogera ebitakwatagana ku tteeka lino nga bwe yali alyanja eri bannamawulire yayogera ku nkunamyo.
If you dress in such a way that you irritate the mind and excite the people, then you are badly dressed.
Kyokka eggulo bwe yabadde ayogera ku NTV mu kanyomero ka Take 5 ate yeetemye engalike.
I want to say that nowhere and at no time does the nomenclature miniskirt surface in the bill, okay, in the law for that matter. And I am only surprised that people have come up with miniskirts.
Embeera eno yeevuddeko ababaka ba palamenti abakyala okumwambalira nga bagamba nti si mwensimbu mu byayogera.
Kubanga engeri gyalowooza mu mutwe byayogera, kubanga etteeka teryogera ku kwambala kw'abakyala.
The law says that it is representation of sexual parts of a person. So why would you assume that somebody who is wearing a miniskirt and maybe a little thigh is exposed, that is a sexual part?
Embeera endala eviiriddeko abantu okutabulwa kwe kulema okunnyonnyola obulungi ebyo ebitwalibwa ng'obuseegu. Bwe bati ababaka olwaleero bavuddeyo nga bagamba nti baagala etteeka lino liddemu okutunuulirwa.
Different interpretations by different people, including enforcement agencies. So we will look at it, and in the meantime, I would like to request the public, please, don't take the law in your own hands.
Yo poliisi erabudde abantu okwewala okutwalira amateeka mu ngalo nga beesigama ku tteeka lino.
Bw'oba olaba omukyala ng'ayambadde mu ngeri etekusanyusa, agenda ku poliisi otwaleyo omusango ogwo. Poliisi erabe bw'eneetandikira. Naye ate bwe munaatandika okwambula abakyala ate ne mwongera okubaswaza mu ngeri etetegeerekeka kiba kya bulabe nnyo ate era kimenya etteeka.
Irene Namyalo, NTV.
Akawungezi akadde keeko nga bwe twakutegeeza buli lwakubiri tujja kuba tuleetawo omugenyi atangaaze ku nsonga ez'enjawulo. Olwaleero tugenda kutangaaza ku eyo ensonga yennyini ey'etteeka erirwanyisa obuseegu nga mu studio ninamu Honorable Nabira Naggayi Sempala nga yakiikirira abakyala mu kibuga Kampala. Honorable, tukusanyikidde.
Naye nsanyusa kubeera wano, mwebale NTV kuleeta nsonga eno nakunkyaza Kawungezi.
Kale okusookera ddala obuzibu bwavaawa tukimanyi byaleetebwa kulwanyisa buseegu naye sitegera lwaki abantu beesibye nnyo ku ngoye ennyimpi. Mwalisengeka bubi?
Okusooka kwa byonna tulina ensonga nnyingi mu Uganda naddala mu mbeera ey'obuntu, mu kwasisa empisa okutwaliza awamu, mu bwononefu tuli babbi, tuli balimba n'obuseegu mwe buli. Naye ensonga eno bwe yajja wadde yayogera kugamba nti n'abamu bagenda ne bakwata vidiyo nga bali mu bisenge ne baziteeka ku intaneti. Eyo ensonga nnyingi nnyo. Naye olwaleero ekitweraliikiriza naddala ffe ng'abakyala tetteeka lino ebirala bisuuliddwa ebbali n'abantu ne bajjamu kimu nnyambala y'abakyala. Obuseegu butegeeza bakyala, obuseegu yoowaayi, ensonga yonna ey'obwononefu yeetooloolera ku bakyala. Olwaleero ffe tugamba nti gavumenti ne baminisita obutasengeka nsonga ziyamba Uganda zijja kuviiramu obulabe bannayuganda bangi. Mu kiseera kino kiri ku bakyala kibi nnyo kubanga kati Uganda abakyala tutandise n'okweraliikirira. Oli bw'anaaba takwagala nga mwambalira bulungi naga ndikusanga. akolako kintu kitono kinyonyonyonyo nga bwolaba embeera ey'omuntu okwagala okuttisa munne n'atandika omukubira endulu ng'oli ku street asobola okuttisa. Kati n'ensonga eno naye ezze bwetyo bawala baffe beeraliikirivu, abaana b'amasomero tomanya musajja bigendererwa bye byasobola kuleeta ku mwana muwala. Oluusi yamwegomba dda, oluusi alina ekiruyi. Ensonga eno ffe tugamba gavumenti eveeyo mu bwesimbu ate nga wadde tenaba kulongoosa, eveeyo naddala abantu abalabikidde mu bikolwa ebyambula abaana abawala bakwatibwe.
Okay, obuzibu bwatandikira wa kubanga bwe nabadde nsoma etteeka eryo essira twasinze jjo duteeka ku ntambi n'ebifaananyi nga bye birina okusinga okulwanyisibwa ababikola. Lwaki twesibye nnyo ku buteeteeyo obwo?
Abaami bano abakulembera mu tteeka eryo Honorable Lukodo musajja, waliwo n'owabavubuka eyavaayo n'oyogera ekintu ng'olinganga asaaga. So nga bw'obeera minisita kiki ddi lw'oyogera ekikyo ddi lw'oyogera ekya gavumenti. Kati baalagajjala mu njogera yaabwe atandika okugamba okwambala ate kati bw'olaba minisikaati ekyo ne kikwatayo. Kati omuntu owa bulijjo ye bw'awulira etteeka tagenda kgenda mu details, tagenda kgenda munda alabe obuwaayiro obw'enjawulo, yajja kukwata kimu abawala batuyitiridde, abakazi batuyitiriddeko. Kati tulirabanga etteeka eryajjira abakazi, eryajjira abakyala, eryajja okweraliikiriza omukazi mu Uganda. So nga ate tubadde twenyumiriza nti abakyala tulina we tusenvudde, naye bino ebitandise tutandise okweraliikiriza nti Uganda usanga abantu bajja kuddukamu akawaayi, abakazi tutandise okudduka okufuna asylum.
Naye nga akawaayiro ako k'omwekali mu tteeka akalwanyisa engoye ennyimpi era bwe kaba mwekali mulina bwe bwannyonnyola nti olugoye olumpi lukomawa.
Ffe tugamba minisita kati kyekiseera aveeyo tutandike okupima inchi kubanga waliyo komiti gye baagamba egenda okuvaayo ekwate ku nsonga ezo ez'obuseegu. Tetumanyi oba komiti eyo bw'enajja egenda kupima sikaati oba waggulu w'amaviivi inchi mmeka oba bw'esukkawo, yaani akwata bantu be bakwata, poliisi yekwata. Wajja kubawo poliisi nga yo yakwambala nga ye eriku ekyo kyokka nga bw'olaba traffic nti abo ba traffic bambala bwe bati. Kati wajja kubaawo ab'ebyokwambala nga nabo balina engoye abantu be babala bagamba baabo. Nze tugamba nti Uganda tubadde tetunnatuuka awo kutandika kusojja bantu. Waliwo embeera, tulina church, tulina emizikiti, tulina obwakabaka, tulina abakulembeze ab'ennono. Ensonga eyo yaabwe nze ndowooza tubadde tutambudde bulungi naddala wano mu Buganda. Ekisaakaate naye okutandika okukwata kibooko abasajja batandika okukuba kibooko abakazi ti eyo nno sijaagadde omuyiseeko ku street oba wa taxi ye naalabanga kyekyo. Ffe kye tuvaayo ng'abakyala abeegattira mu uwopa tetujja kukkiriza Uganda efuuke ey'okudduka nti bw'oba omukyala ogamba owaayi oba ngende Kenya
buli kyogenda okwambala kikuteeke ku bunkenke.
Ku bunkenke Farida otuuka ogambe nti oba inchi ze zino tujja kufuna mita. Era nze bukyensaba nti nno minisita Father Lukodo aveeyo nga prime minister bw'ayogedde titteeka lino likomewo
mu parliament.
Katusuubire nti kigenda kutuukirira nga prime minister bw'ayogedde.
Okay, Honorable, weebale nnyo ebigambo byo tubiwulidde. Abadde Honorable Minister, Honorable Naggayi Nabira Sempala, omukyala akiikirira ab'e Kampala. NTV akawungezi ekyagenda maaso katuddeko n'abasumba babadde ennyo ku mwanjo mu kulwanyisa ebisiyaga abasabye gavumenti etunule mu ngeri ey'okutuukirizaamu etteeka lino mu makomera ebimu ku bifo omuze guno gye gugambibwa nti gusensedde nnyo. Bano bagamba nti obutafaananako n'amakomera ag'ebweru wano abasibe abasinga basibibwa kirindi. Baagala wateekebwewo enkola enaayamba n'abasibe n'abantu abadduse mu bisiyaga.
Wateekebwewo bajeti embeera y'amakomera eterezebwe abantu bazimbirwe akazigo ke katono ne bakabeera fuuti 4 ku 3 ng'ako kake munne amulabira mu katimba tewali ngeri gyakimutuusaako.
Ng'abantu abo gamba baaliwo ebisiyaga oba wali mu soka ttiimu ekisajja ne kijjako ne kiggwako ne kikuyuza tokyatambula bulungi. Twagala kuwa omukisa abaana abo tusobole okubajjanjaba.
Era tugamba tetteeka lino nga bwe lize mu nkola gavumenti egenda kussaawo enkola gye tusaba gavumenti eseewo enkola ey'okutaasa abavaayo
kanisa zaffe zonna ezisinga obungi zigenda kukola nga welcome center ojja nonyonyola ebyakutuukako ne tunoonya engeri gye tukuyamba abeetaaga counseling ne zibaweebwa abeetaaga okubajjanjaba tutagenda kuteekawo clinics nga bwowulidde tusobole okubajjanjaba
kwe kuyita abantu bajje kololonga ennaku z'omwezi 4 omwezi ogwokusatu luliba lwa Tuesday oluyitibwa olwokubiri bajje tugende kololo mu bungi ddala.
NTV akawungeza eddakiika zisenvudde tugenda kuwumulamu katono ddala tufune obubaka naye sooka olabe ebimu ku biri mu kitundu ekyokubiri.
Mbeera ku mulamwa nendaba nti tukisindika.
Omubaka David Bahati abadde omusaale mu kulwanyisa ebisiyaga atubuulidde byayiseemu.
Coming soon on NTV.
Many generations ago, the warrior Apoena from the Karaway tribe fell in love with young Antonia. When they returned to the Araguaia River with the young white girl carrying their child, they awoke Iaru's hatred. Raised away from the curse, Solano Rangel, the last descendant of Antonia and Apoena, returns to uncover his roots, but he couldn't resist Estella's charm. But she keeps a secret in the past.
Estella.
Her real name is Estrella Karaway, and her destiny is to fulfill the curse. Destiny River.
Coming soon on NTV.
Kuolo lwennyini olwokutaano lwe bamutta.
As innocent as I was, that the police could have been involved in this. He authorizes for Benzi was arrest the driver and my husband's ex-partner. I think they found dollars in his pockets.
NTV akawungeza eddakiika ziri 30 eziiseeko. Olunaku lw'eggulo President Yoweri Museveni yassize omukono ku bbago erikugira okulya ebisiyaga era ne lifuuka etteeka oluvannyuma lw'emyaka 4 bukya bbago lino lireetebwa mu Parliament mu mwaka gwa 2009. Ebbago lino lyaleetebwa omubaka akiikirira Ndora West David Bahati. Olwaleero Gertrude Tumusiime Uwitware awayizaamu ne Bahati n'atubuulira kwe yasinziira okuleeta ebbago lino era biki byayiseemu.
Mu mwaka gwa 2009 omubaka wa Parliament akiikirira Ndora West yaleeta ekiteeso mu Parliament nti wabeewo etteeka erirwanyisa ebisiyaga. Mu kiseera ekyo David Bahati yali mu kisanja ky'ekisooka ng'omubaka wa Ndora West. Ekiteeso kino kyayanirizibwa Parliament era ne kimututumusa wano mu Uganda so ne mu mawanga ag'ebweru. Bahati ono yaani?
Saagala kulaba omwana nga ali exploited kubanga nange nayita eyo nga mbonaabona.
Era ki ekyamusindika okuleeta ekiteeso okuwera ebisiyaga?
Ate nga bagenda mu masomero abaana baffe nga babarukurutinga mu mpisa zino n'ekirala twalaba nti amateeka galiwo kati mu Penal Code nga tewali ekintu kyonna ekiri serious okufightinga homosexuality.
Bahati musajja mukristaayo akkiriza mu mpisa era aliko ekibiina ekiyitibwa The Fellowship mwali. Ekibiina kino kyatandikira mu Amerika era ne kibuna amawanga mangi.
Tulina mu fellowship tusinkaniramu nga babaka mu Parliament muno ate tukolengana n'abalala mu maparlaments amalala. Ezo fellowships ezo mu nsi endala tewalina zekirina okubbaga lino. Ebbaga lino lya Uganda they are proposing Uganda.
Okuva lwe yaleeta ebbago lino Bahati asigadde akyali mugumu okutuusa na leero era abadde ku mwanjo buli tteeka lino lwe libadde liteesebwako mu paalamenti. Olugendo luno ddwo Bahati agamba terubadde lwangu.
Batutiisa nti bagenda kututa, ekyokubiri nga bawandiika amabaluwa buli kaseera, ekyokusatu nga amawanga mangi tegatuwa visas z'okutambula, ng'ogendayo ne gakugamba gwe tukumanyi. Mu December eyo mu mwaka gwa 2010 ne bajeeka ne bakidnappinga kazini wange. Gavumenti egezaako mu ngeri gyesobola okulaba nti tubeera ne protecting okutiisatiisibwa okwe nze okugwange tekintiisa.
Omubaka ono alina ebiseera by'agamba nti tayinza kwerabira mu lutalo luno lw'abadde alwana.
Waliwo oluli bwe twagenda ebunaayira US mu mwaka gw'2011 awo ne banstopinga okwentalinga conference n'ababaka benagenda nabo bo ne baentalinga naye nze bwe natuuka wali ne bagamba position gy'olina ffe kakati tugambye tusazemu togenda kuyingira.
Kyokka musanyufu nti babaka banne tebamulekeredde ekimuzizaamu ennyo amaanyi.
Eno ebadde victory ku families zaffe, ebadde victory ku future y'abaana baffe, ate ne victory ku ggwanga lyaffe ffe nga Uganda.
Wabula ku bingi byayiseemu ng'etteeka lino likyali bbago, waliwo obweraliikirivu nti nate ebyokwerinda bye byandiba mu matigga.
Simanyi oba ndi seefu naye tujja kugendera waawo.
Bahati agamba nti ekiddako ateekateeka kuwandiika katabo ku lugendo luno lwe bayiseemu okulaba ng'ebbago etangira ebisiyaga lifuuka etteeka. Gertrude Tumusiime Uitware, NTV.
Webale nnyo Gertrude. Amaka agasoba mu 8 gegalekeddwa ttayo oluvannyuma lwa namutikwa w'enkuba eyabaddemu omuzira okwonoona amayumba ko n'ebimera mu district ye Iganga. Ate yo Ebusia abatuuze ku kyalo Sibarara bavudde mu mbeera ne bagunda kansala waabwe Agakonde nga bagamba nti abadde asussizza okusigula bakabanne.
Ebyalo ebisinze okukosebwa mulimu Nakalama, Nakigo, ne Bulamagi nga muno ne poliisi, amasomero, amakanisa ko n'emizikiti byonna tebirutonze. Ebisulo by'abaana wamu ne laboratories nabyo byasanyiziddwawo. Abantu 10 nabo balumiziddwa oluvannyuma lw'amabaati ko n'ebisenge okubagwira.
Yameneka mukono yakosebwa mugongo na kifuba kyazimbye. Omwana owundi bakobye nti wano wakosebwa bamusindike kativu.
Mu masomero agamu abasomesa tebakyasobola kusomesa. Bangi ku batuuze bibasobedde eka ne mu kibira era ne basaba gavumenti ebayambe.
Government, especially the Ministry of Education and other people, the concerned people, to come and at least rescue the situation.
Okuvaako Iganga, Muhammad Wandera omukulembeze w'abavubuka mu muluka gw'Eddabani yagudde ku kyokya bw'akubiddwa Gakonde n'ensambagere nga bamulanga gwakwendanga kubaka basajja. Kigambibwa nti ono ye buli mukazi ajja okumugulako ebintu mu kaduuka era waakiri
ogulayo omunyu akongera ka juice ka bwerere ekivaamu ng'ajja kukonkona kiro. Waliwo omukazi omu ate abakazi kati nga bataano balemeseza obufumbo munamu bamusasula bamuleeta amakaage yamulema ate okukuuma
atumalidde abakazi baffe ku kyalo twagala RBC amuyise ajje wano.
Ono yayitiddwa mu kkooti y'ekyalo nga yalagiddwa yetondera omukazi eyabadde amulumiriza okugezaako okukwata muwala we kyokka ng'ali lubuto.
Yambolera ati maama ati sabba yandi bubi ati ali kusindikango lwiki lulyambuuka liha.
Wabula oluvannyuma atwaliddwa ku poliisi okumuwonya okugajambulwa.
NTV akawungezi mu kiseera kino katulabe akatale k'ensimbi bwe kayimiridde mu bibanda eby'enjawulo. Akatale k'ensimbi kakutuusibwako
Insurance Company of East Africa, ICEA, standing by you. Medical insurance. When your health takes an unexpected turn, our medical insurance policy will cover your medical expenses. Let's worry about the bills. Insurance Company of East Africa, ICEA, standing by you.
Dakiika 34 zeziyise ku ssaawa emu. Katumulemu katono ddala tulina ekitundu eky'ebyemizannyo tovaawo.
NTV, turning on your world.
Program Guide.
It is such moments that define the human in us. Those moments measure the joy, the agony, and the despair in us. So how long will you be wearing Pampers? These moments tell us that indeed our lives are destined for something greater than mere survival, and that our hopes and inspirations are what will define our tomorrow. This week we share with you a story of betrayal of trust in love. Sometimes your story is my story, and that's what makes us African. When your joy becomes my joy, and your sorrows become my sorrows. Join me, Zuena Chirema, every Sunday as we unveil the stories of our lives here on Life Stories.
What the hell are you doing here, Precious?
Tembe, Stalin Beko.
Dada, you can't marry her.
What?
She left and I went back to look for them and she was gone.
Wait, baby. And I think we should buy it.
Are you mad? Secrets.
You lied to us.
No, sir.
Yes, you did.
Excuse me? What are you doing with my father?
You collapsed. But are you sure he's dead?
He got his hands on secrets. I'm also offering you a way to take revenge on him. Why didn't you tell me that the next phase in your plan involved dumping me?
Because it's popular. It won't be cheaper. Scandal.
Whose decision it is to wear a condom?
It has to have a good foundation for where it's coming from. When you see a back show and there is no bra,
You have to control your mind.
That's how a man was created.
Men and women are different. We go into relationships for many reasons.
Me, if you're a chick, I don't want to get pregnant, this is locking it down.
Someone could be in a relationship not because they love you, but because it's convenient.
Are you saying that when a woman tells her friends, oh, my man is so good, he provides for me, he provides for the family, he's great in bed, this is going to make my friend go to my man?
When the marriage is actually a marriage of convenience.
It is not necessarily true that when you put together with someone, when someone is forced on you, love will grow.
If you've fallen in love with somebody,
and it's working for you, marry them.
Men, every Wednesday only on NTV. Today's highlight with
New geisha with extracts from Mother Nature.
You were talking about my godmother, Constanza. Am I right?
We were talking about a lot of things, Alejandro.
You told me that she'd left with another man without a trace to be found. Why so interested now?
She's my wife, Alejandro.
Maximiliano, your little brother. I disguised myself so I could see you, because I knew they wouldn't let me.
My mom always wants what's best for us. That's why she uses new geisha with extracts from nature. New geisha with extracts from Mother Nature.
And the change of government won't stop a thing. I've run out of fingers counting the number of multinationals setting up here. What about the 3 companies that announced their plans to launch last week? I say they're shortly. Me, I'd be looking to sell. At what price? More. Much, much more. I don't know who you are or how you know these things, but one thing I'm sure of, you're in the wrong job. Here, call me tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'd like to hear more from you.
Are you ready for your big break? The East African, understanding the region.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
By this time, the alarm has gone off. You've put it on snooze, and you slightly and slowly try to grab the last shut eye for the very last time. Morning is awesome. It's beautiful. But the downside to it is that it comes at a very bad time of the day. Well, here at Morning at NTV, we are definitely wired to get you started with a very awesome hot cup of coffee at the Kampala Serena Hotel rooftop. My name is Brian Malondo. Standing by is Mabel Kebirunji and Joel Senyonyi and Simon Kasiate. Most of you who have labeled him the live wire. In a couple of minutes, he'll be joining us for the press review. And I want to say a very, very awesome good morning this 26th day of February 2014. Let's get started with our question of the day. There you go, and feel free to answer that question. The first 5 respondents will each walk away with the Morning at NTV mug. And many of you have taken the mugs, and we are definitely going to give you more. And the other day we gave out an HTC, so we are all about goodies this very beautiful morning. Our contacts are on Twitter at Morning at NTV, and of course our Facebook page Morning at NTV. Go there, like the page, invite your friends to like it, and of course answer the question. If you can't use Facebook or Twitter, yes, the SMS line is clear and open. Just send your answers and your names to 6565. Now, standing by at the NTV studios is Mabel Kebirunji with the stories that are making headlines. Good morning, Mabel.
Good morning, Brian. Now, today, some of you may be wishing for rain. Well, whatever the case, thank you for joining us once again on air and online this Wednesday morning. I am Mabel Kebirunji, and these are some of the stories that are making headlines. The Speaker directs clerk to ensure that the expelled NRM lawmakers vacate Parliament. At least 1,800 students' results are withheld on suspicion of malpractice. And the Cabinet is studying a draft proposal to provide a hot meal for the children in government-aided schools.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
The Speaker of Parliament, Rebecca Kadaga, has directed the clerk to ensure that the 4 expelled NRM lawmakers vacate Parliament. The Speaker's directive follows a constitutional court judgment that ordered the 4 MPs out of Parliament in line with the NRM party's demand. Maurice Ochol has more.
The fate of the 4 lawmakers expelled from the NRM party was brought up in Parliament barely a week after the Constitutional Court ordered them out of the August House. The Speaker, Rebecca Kadaga, informed the House of a letter she received from the Constitutional Court and read out its contents to the MPs.
The above mentioned to continue sitting in Parliament or take part in any parliamentary activity, either in the committees or elsewhere, and also stop payment to them of any salaries or allowances or other emoluments and entitlements, save for those that may have accrued to them immediately before the issuance of the court order.
Kadaga then said she would comply with the order and directed the Clerk of Parliament to effect it.
I have notified the 4 members about the decree and instructed the Clerk of Parliament about those instructions.
The Clerk is supposed to declare the seats vacant. The 4 MPs are Theodore Sechkubo, Wilfred Niwagaba, Muhammad Nsereko and Barnabas Tinka Semire. However, the sticking issue is whether the notice of appeal filed by the MPs at the Supreme Court yesterday will soon be heard.
All the orders that they were purporting to be putting up must be considered by the Supreme Court.
Some lawmakers NTV spoke with say the expulsion of the so-called rebel MPs was orchestrated by the government.
Encountered a similar scenario when court nullified my election, and then the Speaker received that communication, and the communication, of course, by the clerk to Electoral Commission.
The government is dying to have these members out of Parliament. So we got to know that on Saturday, the Attorney General wrote a letter. I think he was even working extra time on Saturday, so Saturday, because the letter is dated 22nd. It's dated 22nd, so which means it was written on Saturday.
Because this is clearly very ambiguous. The way this decision was made was a bit ambiguous. If they go to the Supreme Court, let's see the highest holders of the laws of Uganda.
There is another apparent court where these people will go and appeal, and I have hope that in that appeal they will restore justice, they will restore fairness. But the Speaker right now, she had nothing to do but read a decree and decree as she has done so.
But other legislators argue that the kind of indiscipline exhibited by the 4 MPs calls for their dismissal under the multi-party system.
I think really if we are to share this multi-party democracy, the internal mechanism and the code of conduct of the party must be respected so that that organization is sounding.
For now, all eyes will be focused on the Supreme Court that's expected to issue its verdict on the long-awaited case that involves some of the most vocal critics of President Yoweri Museveni. Maurice Ochol, NTV at Parliament.
Indeed, we can't wait for that ruling. The Uganda National Examinations Board, UNEB, yesterday released the Uganda Certificate of Examination results for 2013. The results indicated that 25,229 students failed the exams last year. The results of at least 1,800 students were withheld on suspicion of exam malpractice. Suhail Mugabi with the details.
The Uganda Certificate of Examination results were released this morning to reveal the performance of at least 295,494 students, a slightly larger number than the previous year's 268,900. The increase in numbers has been attributed to the universal secondary education. The results show that 261,400 students performed well enough to fall in 4 divisions. 25,229 students failed completely and chemistry was the worst performed subject.
This drop, I would like to assure you, will be addressed by government through relevant departments.
There appears to be little teaching, perhaps as a result of lack of teachers, because definitely we have a great shortage of science teachers.
Performance according to gender shows girls excelled in English and literature in English, while boys beat the girls in sciences and other subjects.
Many cultures still think that it's the boys to be supported to study.
The best performing districts include Mukono, Wakiso, Kampala, Bushenyi and Masaka, while the districts that performed the worst include Chankwanzi, Namayingo, Amolotar, Nakapiripiriti and Kaberamaido. Results of 1,800 students were withheld. The examinations board cited for examination malpractice did not mention any schools.
Cases of impersonation, collusion, some external assistance and smuggling of unauthorized materials into the examination rooms were detected by the scouts.
Once investigations are concluded, I ask UNEB to forward this report to the Ministry of Education and Sports for expeditious action. I direct UNEB to withdraw the examination center numbers of the schools that have persistently featured in malpractice.
Secondary school selections will take place on the 6th and 7th of next month, March, and students are expected to report to school on the 17th of the same month. Suhail Mugabi, NTV.
This girl has now come to my shot.
The Assistant Commissioner in the Ministry of Education in charge of government schools says Cabinet is studying a draft proposal to provide a hot meal for the children in government-aided schools. Benson Kure's comments came amid concerns over the quality of education at a regional meeting to assess the quality of education in rural and urban areas.
Delegates from India, Kenya, Mali, Mexico, Nigeria, Pakistan, Senegal, and Tanzania in Kampala to share ideas on how to improve the quality of education in their respective countries. A 2013 report by UWEZO, a 4-year initiative that aims to improve competencies in literacy and numeracy among children aged 6 to 16. Education standards have been on the decline for the last 3 years.
Government says they have invested lots of money in constructing schools and also ensuring they equip the laboratories in most universal secondary education schools. However, critics are saying that if government does not fix the problem of pupils and students going or spending an entire day without a hot meal, then they are wasting resources and time.
Official output is not yet out, but there is a debate on students' lunch. A cabinet paper was prepared, and I think negotiations are going on so that proper guidelines can be given.
While the government is largely providing free primary education, parents and guardians are expected to provide meals and other scholastic materials to children, but they often fall short. UWEZO believes such attitudes contribute to poor performance of pupils and students alike.
One of you raised the issue of what can illiterate parents do. They can visit the schools where the children are going. We found cases during the assessments where a parent for a whole year didn't know that the child was not reaching school for the whole year.
The FAL program, the Functional Adult Literacy program, is helping us to assure that even the common man down there is helped to at least appreciate some basics in terms of understanding of the basic issues that affect him or herself.
The 2013 UWEZO report into literacy skills reveals that 3 out of 10 children in primary 4 and above failed to read and understand a primary 2-level story. Still Biarhanga, NTV.
LCM is equal to 8.
That brings our morning bulletin to an end. I now hand you back to Simon, Brian and Joel for the press review.
It's an overcast sky. sky over us here at the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel. It's a wonderful Wednesday morning, the 26th day of February 2014. For those of you who are always looking at the calendar, check out the last day of the month. Well, you have 2 days to go. That means... Good morning, guys, and welcome to Morning at NTV's Press Review. Brian Mulondo and Joel Senyonyi. How are you doing, guys?
Very good. You have a very, very bright bow tie.
Well, it's taken off from the heat that was generated on this very table yesterday, but let's look at the daily newspapers. The Daily Monitor this morning, with all that's been going on, there's been quite a huge loud and quiet over the O-level results. But yes, indeed, they were released yesterday. And as always, Monitor gives you an extensive and insightful coverage of these results. The winners, the losers, the highs, the lows, the jubilations and the tears. All these in 36-page Daily Monitor. That includes your pullouts, that includes all the other advertorials that you can ever get in a morning newspaper. What do we have in the red paper this morning?
Did you actually take note that apparently chemistry was one of the worst performed, if not the very worst performed? And I was thinking, there's a time we were propagating the gospel of science subjects and that kind of thing. But look, schools do not have laboratories, for example. And I think it's not right the way we denigrate arts, for example. We tend to think sciences are the in thing, yeah? But one, we are not ready for it. And two, the arts are relevant too, and we need to
think that we are not ready for the sciences.
We're not. Oh, come on! You're talking about students doing tests, and in an entire county, there is no school that has a laboratory, for example. What sciences are you promoting?
Well, in that case, but you have other counties where there is an oversupply of
and
laboratories.
See, that's the point. If you're going to transfer them from here to another district to go and do, tests, for example, when do they practice?
No, I don't
because
also...
many of them meet these
Joel, I also do not believe in this whole denigration of the status quo of affairs. Anyway, I could say I am a bit lucky, and many people watching us maybe could have been as lucky as I have been, for I studied in schools that had more laboratories than we could, and those schools were not
to find out what's deep there. Things are not good. And we are not just here to say lampoon government or whatever the case might be. I think the point is, let's have our priorities the right side up. In 2005, I believe it was.
Arts are extremely important. A degree in psychiatry is very important. A degree in social sciences is extremely important. But we also equally need to work on to how to mix up these chemicals. That's why, in fact...
I'm not saying we don't need to. I'm just saying, let's emphasize them, but you see, let's avail what needs for them to be done.
For the most part, many of these schools, we have more private schools than government schools. These private owners of schools, why aren't they more interested in getting equipment and equipping their schools in a manner that will propagate these subjects?
You and I should know by now that more private schools have these instruments. It's especially the government-aided schools that are having a trouble. But you see, I was going to talk about the issue of our priorities, the wrong side up. In 2005, NTCs, that's National Teachers Colleges, were closed. Why? Because there was no 500 million shillings for them to run. Government said you don't have them money. The 500 million shillings, let's close them. Now, right about the same time, former Vice President Dr. Kazibu was given 2.5 billion shillings to go and do what? Study a PhD in, one of those, Harvard, is it? It was. And I thought, wait a minute, what is going on here? And of course, she did the PhD, came back here. What was she into? Microfinance, we were in chicken and so on. And I'm thinking, so we gave somebody 2.5 billion shillings.
And you know what she did in microfinance?
And rear goats and chicken. And I have no issue with her as an individual. But our priorities are the wrong side
My
up.
question is, who has caused this? Because I remember even when we were in school, if you did arts, then science students labeled you a failure. Is that government that has caused that because of the more emphasis on science, or actually it's just how it has been, when you scientists, you feel like
there was a time in this country when people worked very hard in school, got wonderful grades, went to wonderful universities, got wonderful degrees out of them, got jobs and worked hard at those jobs and earned a living. We're talking about engineers, we're talking about doctors. And for the most part, many of our parents were conditioned to think that scientists possibly earned a decent and honest living, as opposed to people who did the usual arts, came out of it, became lawyers, and then became labeled liars. So at the end of the day, for the most part, many parents tended to push their children to what they call professional courses, which were seen as human medicine, engineering, and the like. And that's why.
But now things have changed now, because scientists are some of the least paid people, yet they do most of the work.
And the artists are the most paid, but are they earning a decent
I think we do a lot of work.
You the artists.
Let's get to more interesting stories in the Daily Monitor. The choice is here for you to make. Are you going to be a scientist or are you going to be an artist? Have you had enough career guidance to catapult you to that kind of person that you want to be? Do you aspire to become an artist like Brian Mulondo? You know the combination to take, something akin to
to a place called hell. History, economics, and literature. Well, the homosexuality discussion is going on deeper and deeper. Now we have got Norway cutting down up to about 20 billion Ugandan shillings in aid as a result of signing into law of the anti-homosexuality bill. Of course, we've seen many more threats coming in from especially members of the European Union. It's in the Daily Monitor this morning.
Holland has also cut 7 million euros. So I don't understand.
And people, you know what this all means, that we've been having extremely sunny and blotted days in Kampala with dust hovering over ourselves. Now that the aid cuts are coming in, you can see the rains are beginning to come. Oh, the country is going to sink. We are going to collapse. It's going to flood all over us because we signed the anti-homosexuality bill. And yes, big and rich countries are cutting their aid.
I was watching international press, you know, the likes of CNN and so on yesterday, and I think some of these journalists pontificating and making all this noise, talking about how our president is intransigent and so on. But you see, the president said something that really impressed me as he was about to sign that bill into law. He said, you see, aid has actually been part of our problem. For me, that was like a eureka moment. I was thinking, the president finally realizes that aid has been one of our major problems.
But he had already said that. There was a time he said, cut your aid,
yeah,
just
but you
let's
see,
do some butter trading.
There's not been cogent steps in, extricating ourselves from this aid. And yet we can. We just need to be frugal, make very good use of the little that we have. But you see, when we are very reckless all over the place, it's like somebody earning 500,000 shillings and they want to sleep in a house that is 600,000 shillings.
Well, that is the case of most Ugandans.
There's an English word for that. Foolishness.
That is, for the most part.
We did some maths and we said, okay.
And that's why we run our country, unfortunately.
Right. If we are 37 million people, if we assume that 7 million people are gay, okay, so we cut that number off. Then we say 10 million people are poor. We cut that number off. And we say the 20 million people that is there should give government 500 shillings every month.
You see, that's not
government
even necessary.
Would get 10
that's
billion
not even
shillings.
necessary.
And
the money that we collect.
10 billion shillings a month for this government where people siphon off 100 billion as an individual.
And no one gets apprehended. The money is not to
You've seen a trending YouTube video of an interview with the former minister Zoiba Koko Bakoru, who is holed up in exile in the USA, saying that $5 million was siphoned off the National Social Security Fund every month. So what the big deal are you talking about of 10 billion shillings from Ugandan citizens as well of tax? Even if it were every day, that money would certainly not be enough here.
And you see, it's not that we don't have enough money in our coffers, or at least based on what we collect. We are just reckless spenders. This is like individuals who spend money they don't have.
Like I said with tongue in cheek, it is going to rain. We will need a Noah's Ark. This country is going to sink because all these people have cut their aid, or we are going to die. We are going to sink. Inside the Daily Monitor, of course, if you must be above the float of poverty, get yourself a copy of the Daily Monitor and check out what the Seeds of Gold are saying. This is a pull-out where you can learn how to harness that soil on which you're standing, how to harness those animals that you keep only for the sake of keeping, but you never know how much money you can make out of them. It's all in the Daily Monitor this morning. The Daily Monitor is an extremely bloated paper this morning with interesting articles, especially stories of triumph of these guys that just got their results of Uganda Certificate of Education. And the editorial of the Daily Monitor is imploring onto us to encourage creative thinking as opposed to cramming for examinations. That is in the Daily Monitor. And of course,
there's a quote there that I want to read by His Excellency the President. He said, I could not understand why a man could fail to be attracted to the beauties of a woman and instead be attracted to a fellow man.
It is the same thing that you'd want to tell the president of how he does not enjoy the sumptuousness of a deep-fried fish, and he only prefers to eat that hard steak called beef. I mean, people have got tastes and preferences, and possibly some are as weird.
One of the biggest undoings of this bill, now law, is that we have fronted it religiously, and that can be, you know, a little bit tricky. We need to, because not everybody is that religious. For example, you'll find somebody who believes in Jaja Mwanga, but they're saying, this homosexuality thing, I don't believe it. And I think that's been one of our undoings.
But you
front the religious bit about it and say you will go to hell and that kind of thing.
But you who are religious, all these sins that are committed in Uganda, all these bloated prisons that we have in this country, who commits them? Isn't it you, the religious?
Precisely the point I'm making is that let's not front, you know, the religiosity about it all. On Valentine's Day, there's a guy
I love the word.
who was told by his wife, I love you, and he said, amen. I was thinking, what kind of madness is that? Stop being too religious. You say I love you too. Even me who is not married, I know that.
So what are we going to front? The scientific view?
No, I think for one, we as a society, we have decided this is culturally untenable, it is unacceptable to us. That is the way we have decided. Yeah, all these other people can make a lot of noise and say they are going to cut aid. We have decided that way you're either with us or against us. And I'm not saying we should now look out for, and it's not even in the law in any way saying we are going now to keep hounding these guys, look out for them and arrest them and that kind of thing. That's not the point. We are saying,
well, what are you talking about? The Red Paper has, for the most part, since yesterday, they released a said list of 200 gays and gay sympathizers. Now, I do not know what big dividing line is between them, and this story has been trending across all international media houses, including the BBC Newsday this morning. And the Red Paper has not stopped at that. This morning, they've got an interesting headline. Shocker!
Wow.
Father Musala, remember him? The Catholic priest, the singing priest, the guy who was suspended from offering some of these sacraments, including penance. He wedded a gay couple recently, and there are exclusive bad images in the Red Paper this morning. And of course, the Red Paper goes on to show you many more pictures of suspected homosexuals in this country. So when you, Joel, say we are not hounding these people, and now we see splashes of them in newspapers, isn't that another sign of hounding them and creating a stigma around them?
Of course, people tended to believe that, you know what, now we are going to begin a search. You know, we're going to go to people's bedrooms and look out for these guys. That is totally beside the point. Thing is, when you begin to come out, like many of them have been coming out, you know, and you see, that's what has been killing our society, for example. The things that we propagate. Keep it to yourself, for goodness sake. I don't see police coming to look out for you. Okay, now, who are you in bed with and that kind of thing. No. But, you know, once you come out and you want to propagate the gospel of homosexuality, we'll tell you, you know what,
the
this
Red
is not
Paper
acceptable for our
is
society.
not stopping at that. This morning they've got an interesting inner story talking about how homosexuality, according to science, is most likely going to cause you mental illness. It is saying in that article that homosexuals have a higher tendency of running mad as compared to their heterosexual counterparts. And this could be as a result of distress and stigma. You want to know more about that?
Why wouldn't you run mad if, for example, you go back home and you have Kasiate for a wife? Why would I not run mad?
Oh, you already ran mad with Kasiate just being your workmate.
There you go.
So there we are. Are we hounding these so-called homosexuals? The million-dollar question is, well, this law can only wait to be seen to be implemented.
I really don't want to, you know, overdwell on homosexuality. Of course, my question has been, how is it going to be implemented? How do you know homosexual? And for many weeks, we've seen people who, some people tell us, this guy is a homosexual, and they're like, no, it can't be possible.
But by the way, the law is not saying that we are going to have a detector for us to know that you're homosexual. No, you're coming out to propagate this gospel in the many ways that they have been. Whether or not you are, we'll deal with you. It's like going to police and say, for me, I'm a thief. We'll lock you up.
In the northern district of Lira, there's been a spate of indiscriminate criminal activity meted upon the innocent citizens of that area by iron bar wielding gangs of criminals. Now, there is an interesting story in the next magazine of the Daily Monitor by a Lira-based correspondent of the Daily Monitor, explaining the depth of what's behind the high crime rate in Lira. Get yourself a copy and get to understand how safe you could be if you visited that part of the country. Let's get down to the sports sections of today's newspapers. Well, KCCA in bullish mood ahead of the Nkana fixture. If you follow local sport, there you go. But for those of you who are fanatics of sports that comes from elsewhere, well, you know what happened to Manchester United last night on their adventure in Greece. What's the joke?
I mean,
it's okay. Spit it out.
Well,
it's
there we are.
Manchester United. Yeah, really. Nothing too surprising.
Well, as you know that there is a countdown to the FIFA World Cup in Brazil, which is happening to be in this year. To what extent are you looking forward to partaking of this World Cup fever? It's in the Daily Monitor. And of course, the story that's trending is how international sportswear giant Adidas is facing it rough and hard with regard to activists in Brazil over their over-sexualization of some sportswear depicting Brazilian women as sex object? Doesn't sex always sell in whatever we put it?
Unfortunately, it does. I know you had moved to the sports section, but there's something that caught my eye here, a feature on Kasoko So. You've heard of that place? Recently there was a lot of dust raised there.
From my humble domicile in Mbuya, that is my
so
view.
On, you know, they talk about their local council leadership and the predicaments they're grappling with. It's amazing how many of our councillors cannot speak English, and I remember the other day people were debating, should they speak in their local languages and that kind of thing. They don't speak English, they speak English. You know, and for those of where you come from, their vocabulary has L's and R's.
Well, I'm sure that you don't want to risk to
You make a good councillor, I think. Why don't you go and stand?
A negative tag on yourself. Joel, I hope you're not trying to take a swipe at my integrity and my
Are you
my
trying to say
so
that councillors are, you know, one bunch of irrelevant people in this good country?
Okay, if that makes you happy, let me say it. They are a bunch of people that represent the people that they are representing.
Like you yourself.
Obviously, you made me a councillor to represent the journalists in Uganda. Here you have a wonderful choice because I am a journalist of some acclaim to talk about. But if we got a guy like you and made you a councillor of the little Chifumbira slum where you come from, clearly you would certainly be the same as the people that you represent. Because it will be very difficult for you to get a first world citizen representative of a third world citizenry. So in that case, you do not obviously expect to get anything different from the domicile. If you have a councillor representing people in Kasokoso, you don't expect them to be as sophisticated as a councillor of, say, for example, Bugolobi, a neighborhood where I was born.
The point we are making here is that many of them are very incompetent. They don't know what to do. When
and I am saying,
you know, they're just totally bleak. Work is not running.
Councillors are elected by universal adult suffrage.
Certainly.
It is people that make a decision on the leaders that they get. In other words, lending
we deserve the leaders we get.
That you deserve the
right
leaders.
from the top to the bottom.
Absolutely. And that includes and is not limited to councillors. I have seen members of parliament who, in my view, would not even pass the test of a mere LC1 chairperson.
Somebody was saying we should raise the bar to university degree.
But I've met university students in my career who have no clue whatsoever with regard to even simple interpersonal interaction.
Yes.
So at what extent can we say that the education system is providing an education that creates people that think?
Quantity education.
And that's what the minister is saying this morning, that you've got to inculcate creative thinking as opposed to studying to cram when the Ngoni migrated from south of Limpopo.
Sometimes you see you can't give what you don't have. Many of these teachers are not creative.
Observer focuses. There's a story. Of course, most of the newspapers are awash with the stories of the S4 results out, but a focus on General Biraro.
This is the man who imagines he can become president of Uganda.
Yes, and there are questions over some NRM youth and other leaders meeting him in Masaka. General Biraro, a few weeks ago, was complaining about the cost of politics and how wherever he goes, people are asking for money.
Well, I'm sure now he has gotten to realize that politics is a different ball game as opposed to the military. That the politics of Uganda is to what extent you can bribe your voters. And that's exactly that links up to what Joel has been decrying, but putting it in a very simplistic manner. That you get a leadership that you deserve. If leaders bribe their way to the office, it's clearly their choice. Your choice of that leader is not based on any form of merit, but on how much salt, sugar they have been able to send out to you.
And that's why many times we do not have the moral authority to hold our leaders accountable. Why? Because they buy our votes. The contract has been signed, sealed, and stamped. I'll be back in 2016.
But also, but as we conclude this press review, let's look at the elite, the likes of you, Joel,
who don't vote,
who have an exaggerated sense of self-worth, who look down upon these councillors, who say they do not speak English, they speak English, who you think are not sophisticated. Joel, be honest and look at people right in their faces on the TV this morning. At what point have you ever offered yourself to be a leader of the community where you come from?
Hey, this guy actually, let's not even go there.
You wanted to be MP,
right? I'm not asking it for my personal information. I'm saying look at the Ugandans watching you. Because Joel, again, that's what I'm saying, an exaggerated sense of self-worth. Do not assume that people watching you have an idea who you are.
But
so
you see,
tell them what
here
you've
is
been
the
able to
point.
do.
You see, not every Ugandan should even stand. Besides that, and I did at some point, and I will bounce back. We'll see how things go. But you see, not every Ugandan has got to stand. Can I start, for example, by voting. Not everybody has got to stand for some position on that kind of thing, but be involved in what's going on. You know, you the elites for that day, it is a public holiday. You sit home, relax. For the Christians like Mulondo, you pray and send angels to vote on your behalf.
And then when all has been said and done,
voting, and we see the way they do things.
And
so
when all has been said and done,
stand.
you will sit on a dice like this one because you are an elite and you are happy to have a platform like we have now, and you start castigating the leaders who people have painfully elected. So clearly,
of course,
you
I'm
can
taking
see
responsibility. That's
absolutely,
what I'm saying.
and that is why
we
it's
need
very
to be
important.
Involved in what's going on.
Absolutely, and then when we finally get these leaders, we must offer them as much support as we possibly can, as opposed to spending all our time denigrating them. I think that's the only way we can move forward as a country.
Right. Support them if they are doing the right thing. If they are not, we'll lampoon them till they get better.
He loves the word to lampoon. I hope that many of you will get down to our Twitter handle and do your fair share of lampooning on all of us, especially on how we are doing. And Joel, please, let's not get there. You know that my ratings are extremely high.
Oh, they are.
So let's take a short break and then be back with a big story this morning. It's Morning at NTV.
Every idea we have begins with you. The way you connect.
Good morning.
How you browse. How you share. And how you interact with the world around you.
Your relationship with your God is the most important thing.
Have a company of people who have got a similar mindset. How do you want people to think, feel, and act after your talk? In other words, what's your objective?
You inspire everything. Because in the end, innovation doesn't really matter unless it does something that really matters to you. And we are HTC.
On your breath.
Because I've been drinking.
Is tough, but you suck it up and you stick through the good times and the bad times. What kind of example are you setting for your sister who is about to walk down the aisle herself?
Shut up, Nandi. Seriously, you just keep poking at other people's relationships. You're like a cancer.
Ati, I hope you're discussing fashion because you have everything under control, yes? And the only crisis you're going to have is you clashing with the red carpet.
We've met mystics. And that's what marriage is all about. Mystics and forgiveness. For better or for worse.
I'm sorry, but I've got to ask.
Nothing happened between me and Usha.
Well, Lulu's not here, and if she comes, I'll tell her you picked the wrong person to mess with, Lucy.
You don't have any way to prove it, darling. Andre Gurgel oversaw all the steps of my designs.
You mean you spent the very last of the money I had in this country? Now how am I supposed to get myself out of the mess you put me in, you imbecile?
Can't imagine what else you would possibly have to say to me about Leonardo.
No, I wanted to talk to you about Armando.
Well, I'm sure they truly care for each other. It's easy for anyone to see that. And besides, they've been together for a very long time now.
Want to have lunch?
I do, but I need to wake up first. It's too early to think about lunch. I didn't even have breakfast yet.
Listen to me, Horatio Cortez. And you learn that no man will ever dump me.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
Yesterday, the big story was indeed very explosive. Let's see what Simon has for us as we return to him at the Kampala Serena Hotel rooftop.
Tremendous morning, this wonderful morning, and we're coming to you from the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel. It's the big story this morning with me, Simon Kasiaki. Now, away from all this sex talk that we've had here, homosexuality, talk about miniskirts and the like, so let's talk about something a little bit more gizmo. We're talking about technology and innovation. And well, for us at NTV, innovation takes center stage as part of NTV's corporate values. The station, this very station, embraces any development geared towards uplifting such values and will continue to support such initiatives going forward. Do you remember, if you've been an ardent viewer of NTV, something that we dubbed the Ideas Lab? A light bulb lights in your head. Well, we had an interesting, or what you'd call an Ideas Lab. This was an initiative focused at producing the next generation of mobile and web solutions that solve real problems in journalism and news media, where the challenge was modeled on the African News Innovation Challenge and sought to further support ideas for new media and journalism. We had an interesting bunch of young and old persons who came around to participate in this wonderful, innovative challenge. The objective of this project was, number one, kickstart media innovation in Uganda by finding and nurturing digital pioneers with breakthrough ideas. We also wanted to enhance content generation, which is part of news gathering, and to empower the audience to engage more in content generation, and that's called citizen journalism, where journalism has stopped being the preserve of people like myself, but to you watching us, being able to send through a story or phenomena that's unfolding right before your eyes, before the camera crews from a bona fide news organization. Arise, and finally, to accelerate interactive newsroom experimentation by reducing risk and other barriers to entry, usable technologies, and matchmaking between NTV's resources and ideas. Now to this end, we had over 200 applicants coming in and testing it out to the Ideas Lab, and 4 finalists made it to our wonderful Cut of Excellence. Now, their task was simple: get ourselves an app that works on the Android platform. And I'm happy to inform you that yes, the creative DNA was the top of the 4 finalists we had. This included Hello World, Lifestyle Technologies, and Wear Technologies. Now, in the studio this morning that's set up at the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel, we're going to get a bit gizmo, like I said, by discussing what exactly it meant for this young man, Brian Lampo, a guy that's part of the creative DNA. Brian, good morning and welcome to Big Show.
Yes, good morning to you.
You are pretty young, extremely energetic, but sounding very low. What's the problem? Is this something that's akin to you, gizmo and tech kids?
No, I wouldn't tell you the problem this early morning. I'm actually very grateful for being here right now, and it's really been an experience, and I want to share it with the rest of the people out there.
For the most part, our listeners and viewers would love always to get the big story in the realms of politics, get down to talk about sex and all the more interesting things. How can we make technology and innovation a bit more interesting for them to stay glued to their TVs for the most part of their life?
Well, I think technology has a very strong impact on society. It's just that we as the country, we're just coming to realize this kind of thing. And I believe that when young people take charge and they get out there and start becoming innovative through such competitions that come up, we are really going to be moving right in the forward direction.
Well, joining the brand here is the marketing manager of NTV Uganda, Herbert Odanki, who is also out to tell us what this spark-leading innovation and also initiative by the NTV had to do with regard to setting the agenda in news gathering in the country. Herbert, why did NTV come up with this kind of strange idea? I thought you'd be creating a lab to nurture tomorrow's leaders in politics as opposed to leaders in innovation and technology.
Pretty obvious.
Good morning, viewers, and thank you, Simon, for the question. Well, NTV, you know our tagline is turning on your world, and we want to engage our viewers. We want to ensure that people understand that we are a TV for the public. And that is why, for example, under our core values, which is innovation, we decided to start this Idea Lab. And we are very, very, very grateful that over 200 groups. When you say he won, behind him is a set of other 3 people. So those are 200 groups. So that means basically there have been like over 1,000 people that participated. So these guys put their heads together and they have come up with very interesting things. The 4 finalists, yes, have won money, but that doesn't mean that the other guys have not also won, because they shared ideas and they put things together, and who knows, we could develop an application that could be as big as WhatsApp or anything. But ours basically is for news gathering and to ensure that we make sure that we have everything proportionated in such a way that we get the best out of what we can get from students.
We are still speaking in the passive voice. We do not know for sure what exactly the Creative DNA did produce as an app. So I'll turn to you, Brian. Yes. What exactly did you guys come up with that won you this great accolade? And how does it work?
All right. Now, the app we came up with is, I would rather call it a news dissemination app. You have the app right on your phone. You're able to stream.
What is it called? I mean, we know apps like Viber. We know apps like Shazam. We know WhatsApp. So what's the name of it?
Well, we kept the name simple. We simply called it the NTV News app.
NTV News app.
Definitely. We just made it simple because we want to first of all promote the brand.
Is it already online? Can I check it out with my
Right now it's not online. We are yet to host it. We are launching it officially and it will be out there for the public and anyone can download it free of charge.
What does this NTV News app do?
Well, the NTV News app simply downloads news feeds to your mobile phone. It informs you whatever is going on around you. It also has the program lineup. You can set reminders. Let's say you don't want to miss a program. You could be in jam. You want to catch up. It will always remind you. It will just yes, definitely. It will tell you, okay, at this time, the program is about to start. Please, whatever you're doing, put it aside. Let's get to the screen and watch.
How interactive is this app? Does it get to feel my voice and put my voice out there for NTV to feel and understand my sentiments, but also pick up from my experience as a citizen journalist?
Yes. Now the app actually promotes citizen journalism. It has a feature we've decided to call the iJournalist. Now this feature enables you to report news in your neighborhood. You can simply, maybe if you're somewhere and news is happening, there are no journalists everywhere. Journalists cannot be there all the time. So all you just do, yes, definitely. You just pull out your phone, you can take a picture, you can capture video and all those things and send them right to the system at the administration at NTV, and they will receive that news and then they will contact you to verify whatever is happening.
Talking about verification, possibly this I should be putting to the news manager of NTV, but I'll put it to you, Herbert. To what extent is NTV going to ensure that this app is not abused by people spreading rumors, gossip, scaremongering, and of course witch hunt?
Of course, as he has explained, he has said that you alert us, you tell us, and you also give us the information and the news. But remember, there is censorship. So the newsroom or the news editor will definitely ensure that according to our values, what goes on air is exactly what we want. But at least what it helps us is that it spreads the tentacles for us to go out there and actually have everything simultaneously.
John, your views don't seem, well, for the understanding ear listening to you or eye watching you, they possibly want to know the extent to which you are original. Have you seen some of these apps? Somewhere the CNN app is more or less like the NTV News app. So how original was your app and how Ugandanized is it? How can we say it's a locally grown app for a local market to meet our local demands?
Well, we cannot clearly say that we do not have to borrow a leaf. Definitely we had to, because people have already set standards for journalism and we needed to follow those standards, yes. But then we thought, let us not just make the app about reporting news and then all that. We want people to actually be able to have a feel that they own this app. So we added the feature of the program lineup, being able to set a reminder. We don't want you to just come and read news and go away. We want to remind you that actually your favorite soap is about to begin. And we actually give you a recap of that soap right in the app. We tell you what is going to happen in that episode. You just simply tap and it will show you all the details about the current program and you'll be right on track.
You talked about young people taking charge and taking the lead in this technological innovation we really need. You're an extremely young guy, but who are you? Are you a student? What do you do for a living?
Well, I am a student.
And your group of friends?
Yes, I'm a student. I have a group of 3 people. We're all software engineers. We're currently in our third year of study at Macquarie University. Yes, and we are trying our best to make sure we actually put what we learn into practice. We don't just want to sit in the lecture room and acquire all this knowledge, and yet we cannot really place it out.
It's very interesting. How are you able to balance between your school time, the demanding nature of your course? Perhaps you are lucky that lecturers sometimes don't come in. But how are you able to balance between your school time and development of this app? And perhaps all the other, you could have possibly participated in other innovative activities. How do you balance?
Well, it's a bit tricky because it's so demanding. We spend sleepless nights trying to actually come up with algorithms that will work, not just things that algorithms. We call them algorithms. So these are actually that's the ways in which we solve problems, systematic ways we solve them. So it was really challenging. You know, you have coursework, you have all these piles of things to read, and you have exams coming your way. But we're really so happy that we managed to make it amidst all these challenges. Yeah, and it was really good.
If I get down to you, but still one final one for Brian. Of course, we've seen software engineering taking the center stage, especially with the advent of mobile telecom companies in this country and the like. And for the most part, there has been talk that you have these wonderful ideas, you study great courses at an extremely high cost to your parents, only to find the job market bloated by foreigners and all these who possibly are not as active as yourself. What challenges do some of your colleagues who've gone before you find in the job market? Are they readily absorbed? Are they able to be employed? Or are you only studying to be job creators as opposed to job seekers and white-collar job performers?
Well, those that have gone before us have actually really faced a lot of challenges. Reason being, the market is so dominated by the Western world. We as the Africans haven't really stepped into that realm of technology. So right now we're just trying to step out of our small cocoon. So it really calls for a lot of innovation. It needs originality because so many things have been done. We can't just keep copying one after the other. We need to be original, and we need to work harder so that we can be able to come up to the same level with the rest of the world.
We've seen NTV leading this kind of drive where you get raw talent and put it through a huge challenge, ensure that you get the best out of them. We've seen guys who can barely talk but are able to sing, and you have transformed them into overnight superstars with that singing. We've seen guys who can hardly walk, but you transform them into wonderful dance sensations. We've seen people, programs on your television set that bring people that have the lowest of business acumen and you turn them into wonderful business people. Now we've seen guys coming on to take on a challenge with regard to technological innovation. Do we see something coming up very soon from NTV with regard to picking ordinary talent and getting the best kind of leadership out of them, especially within this country, of the kind of raw political leadership that we tend to grapple with on a daily?
Simon, so that, I mean, in NTV, you are outside there, you know that NTV leads in innovation, it leads in research, and you've seen most of our journalists getting awards all over the world. And this, I must say to the youth that, look here, this is your station, this is the station where you can come, and you give us so many ideas, or you even participate in the competition that we shall have. For example, this is season 1, we have season 2. 200 people applied, you can as well participate again. So we shall continuously keep doing this so that we transform our society. But most importantly, I want people to understand that NTV is there to ensure that the common person, the common student, the young person can actually turn around and become the owner of Facebook. And we are going to lead you to that.
Well, you just developed a wonderful app that helps us to disseminate news and all that. But our biggest challenge as a country is not so much because there is a short supply of news. Matter of fact, I think this country faces an oversupply of news. There is wonderful choice, or there is a great choice of people to flip between TV stations. There is a great choice of people to tune to radio stations. And there are so many newspapers in our city, some of them dying before their first birthday. How about looking at apps that deal with more day-to-day challenges that Ugandans face? Perhaps something to do with healthcare, something to do with the education system, something to do with, think about it. What are you looking at as an innovator, Brian as an individual, as creative DNA, your little group of friends? What are you looking at with regard to creating apps that are usable, like Herbert did say, for the ordinary person, for the common person?
Well, this is just a stepping stone to greater heights. Now, I can firmly assure you that we actually work on small other apps around. measuring in the different fields. Let's say agriculture, we have one there, we have one in health, and then life. Well, the agriculture app is basically helping people in the, let's say in the remote areas, okay? Farmers nowadays form associations and they need advice, all these things. So we have this solution we're trying to develop for them so that I don't have to pay probably for a service. I mean, I have a common group of friends, we have a community right on our phone, and I can share ideas about what's up here. No. That is the wrong one. Well, it's not exactly like WhatsApp is basically about chatting and all that, but here we're trying to look at sharing ideas, yes, definitely. And we want to empower people, farmers, those that we don't exactly, may not be an Android app because I may not assume a farmer in the village will actually own a smartphone, but definitely we have a way of reaching them through the other platforms. Yes, definitely could be.
I asked him about political innovation and leading the trend in creating the kind of leadership that we deserve as a country. Are you possibly thinking of an app that will ensure that both during that election are actually counted and not simply awarded any winner?
All right, that is very interesting. That is very interesting. Well, that is a controversial issue, I would say. Definitely, when the idea comes up, we have no limit to our innovation. Definitely, we'll come up with the idea and we'll be like, you know what, this is what we're coming up with, this is what we're going to work on, and at the end of the day, we will deliver a solution that is feasible.
Clearly the way to go in the world that we're living in is to get more innovative, extremely more innovative, and of course handle out with the right set of partners. As you see from the big story this morning, you had better brace yourself and look for this NTV news app that will be hitting the app stores anytime from now. But I must congratulate you, Brian, and the creative DNA group for taking the lead and winning. How about these winners from NTV? We had 10 million at stake, and the first group won 5 million, the next got 2.5, the other one got 1.7, the other one got 1 million. This is just an appreciation of the innovative. But again, we shall continue making sure that we up the game and also encourage them to come over. So we are actually going to hand over a check. You are going to carry out an exhibition. Yes, we are going to hand over a check to this group here. And that is testament that we are actually serious what we are doing. And we are also going to have a program that is going to show behind the scene of what they went through. So that will be an extremely boring program. How do you say behind the scenes of thinking? No. It's going to show how these guys, what they went through. Give me reason to look forward to this. Exactly. And it's going to be interesting because we have, like me and you remember during our time at university, there was nothing as serious as it was. But now, we have students who are watching right now in all the universities and secondary schools. So we are thinking that, look here, yes, come here, come and understand and watch and see what you guys went through so that this whole thing can be put together. So it's going to be interesting for those who are interested. But ultimately the viewer is you are going to get another experience of how it shall be doing in the gathering. And thanks to the innovation of these guys. Well, there you have had it when NTV promises to deliver. Can I have the check, guys? Can I have the check so that the band and the viewers believe that when NTV promises, it does deliver 5 million Ghana shillings year for a wonderful innovation. Thank you very much. Have a good viewer. You do the honors of this is a check for 5 million and you receive money. You have stand, you stand and then you receive it and you handshake. Congratulations and for that moment. Exactly, this is really and I am encouraging you continually keep participating in all the innovations that shall be placed and there will be multitude of them. I was almost getting to say I will have a bunch of new boys for the language. We will be right back with my time to say. On this one, I'll start with the quote by none other than Albert Einstein. He says, it has become appallingly obvious that our technology has exceeded our humanity. Now the time to worry.
has our technology accordingly exceeded our humanity. For the most part, we are encouraging creative thinking, creative innovation, creative doing of things different from what we already do. In other words, business unusual. We are creating all sorts of apps, we are partaking and consuming all sorts of technological appliances, all sorts of technological innovation that in other words should be making our lives easy. But is this creating a society of people that are out to tax themselves? Well, my family is morning around that premise. You've seen people going out on late and everyone holding their phone and chatting with others who are not using the space. The people social where they are. You sit in a taxi and nobody interrupts another because each one of you is busy with your Android-powered phone chatting away using all sorts of different apps. Or you have been boardrooms or meetings where instead of looking at what's on the projector screen, many who are busy with their phones or their iPads, taking over information or chit-chatting with people outside the room. You've been materials rather than people more than sending messages and chatting away. Some of them we are going to back of life in a somber mood. Are we losing touch with the feeling of humanity of being there and fellowshipping? Well, we shouldn't, and that's why as innovation and technology out there for our lives easy, we should not use that to replace our innate human interactions. Have a wonderful morning, wherever it is they take you, ensure that it's profitable, innovative, and of course, make life good for you and those around yourself. Morning at NTV continues.
What's that?
That document.
Oh, that! This is some business.
I came to apologize. I had no identity of your lives.
I've eliminated the only evidence needs me time to know.
Did you have to kill another person?
Look at what it is happening. Just wait.
Victoria, how would you like to reform mass legacy?
Blood seems to not. Blood. Yeah. Blood.
I'm responsible for your destiny.
Many generations ago, the warrior of the Palaway tribe fell in love with young Tony. When we returned the Araguay River, with the young white girl carrying her child, they awoke Iaro's hatred. Rescuing the curse, Solano Rangel, the last descendant of Antonia and Apuena, returns to Uncover's roots, but he couldn't resist its touch. But she keeps a secret in the past. Isabella. The real name is Estrella Yacob. And the destiny is to fulfill a curse. Destiny River. Come soon on TV. Over the years, my NSF has had some good days and some difficult ones. But through it all, they have persevered to achieve some major milestones. They have given me better tools to take control of my future. Doing better is what they stand for. They made a promise to me, and they are keeping it. My NSF listens when I speak. I feel more connected to my NSF because they put me first, and I'm confident I will be paid all of my savings. I also know my savings are secure and are being invested in the best way possible, which means that I get the best interest of my savings to turn my dreams and ambitions into reality. And I don't mean to brag, but my NSF is pioneering some of the greatest ideas our nation has ever seen. But what makes me really proud is that my NSF is supporting those making a difference in my community. So how is this important to me? Simple. It's the comfort of knowing my NSF is doing better for me today than ever before to give me a better future. NSF, a better future.
For example,
on the next episode of La Patrona.
What they told you is nothing but... No, Dad, nobody told me. I saw you. You were with some trashy woman. You could easily see what kind of woman she was, and you seemed quite lovey-dovey. What's worrying you, Doctor? Well, what's he doing talking to Suarez? That's what's worrying me. Who could it be?
I've come to rescue you. I've got to get you out of here, Gabriella. And not just because you're destroying yourself here.
Illegal.
You think it's any more illegal than this gun in my hand? I doubt it, sir.
Just calm down now. You should be careful, you could hurt someone.
Antonio Guerra came to say goodbye to me. And inform me happily of my death sentence.
La Patrona. You're watching Morning at NTV.
A very good morning to you, ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live from the Kampala Serena rooftop. It's a minute after 8 o'clock, wherever you're joining us, on air and online. That is youtube.com/NTVUganda/live. You can catch the show. And also miss one of the most famous clips right now on TV and online. Simon Kasiake, Pastor Mare, and Pastor Semba. Coming up with all guns blazing. Some of you have labeled him live wire. Step at your own risk. And go check that out. It was a massive debate on the anti-gay bill. Of course, your feedback and comments, we've seen them, and we'll be looking at that later. But you can also continue discussion on those forums, Facebook and Twitter, and the SMS platform is also open. And the guys, before the break, we're talking about the use of technology in media, and NTV developing an app where you can disseminate news as fast as possible. I've been telling you about watching NTV on your phone very soon, an app that you can download, and it's called NTV, and you just tap it, on your smartphone, just tap that app, and you'll be able to watch us live without any glitch. Of course, I will still turning on your while doing as much as possible to make sure that we give you the quality that you, our viewers, deserve. And going to our Facebook page, we are right now 7,600 people like our page. Invite your friends to like the page too, because it's worth it. It's definitely worth it. A couple of your comments. We had our young guys who were in the NTV Ideas Lab, and they won 5 million shillings. Brian there coming up with very awesome apps. And Alex MK saying, I hope to see Simon apologize to the viewers yesterday, but he let his feelings betray him. It was not cool. Well, our boss, come on, get over it. Chintu Harrison, can that app run on BlackBerry smartphone or specifically for Android? I guess it's for Android, boss. Meshach, What happened to that competition? I wasn't called, yet my idea was fantastic. They chose the best, I guess. But don't worry, the next intake is there, season 2 is there, and you can reapply. Owetibwa Mayanja Emmanuel says, big things are wagwan. In fact, I was trying to look for it in my Apple Store just to bring it on. We are waiting. God bless you. Thank you so much for your comments and of course your feedback. Maybe we'll also be reading more comments. Who's standing by at the NTV studios. But before we head there, the traffic report coming up.
Unfortunately, we were not able to bring you a traffic report, but here are the birthdays, that one special day that you celebrate. We would love to make it more special by celebrating with you. So today, the 26th of February, we celebrate with Alex Nagawa, who is a graphics tutor at Kalidad Images. We also want to celebrate with Campbell Mbanawe, a student at Aptech. And Michael Bolton, famous for songs such as Said I Loved You, But I Lied, and Lean on Me. He was born this day in 1953. He's known as a specialist in love ballads. We're looking onto our Facebook page. If you have not already liked our Facebook page, I don't know what you're waiting for. We have 7,605 likes, so please go and like our page, and we update it with all sorts of topics that we're talking about, and the discussion doesn't end at 9 when the show ends, but we continue letting you know what is happening. We have an idea here on the NTV Idea Lab, and some of your messages coming in. We have Patricia saying, Patricia saying, thanks for the show, I'm loving it, and good morning, guys. Geoffrey Odong says, the NTV, I appreciate you guys for being creative and innovative. We welcome the program, hoping it's going to work well. I love it. And moving on, we have... can that app run on BlackBerry smartphone, or is it specifically for Android? Kintu Harrison asks that question. And then Kansime Johnson says, NTV is really creative. Big up to all Gulu University students. NTV has always turned on our world. And Isaac says, yes, that's good news from NTV. Can I say Kong, or am I rushing? Good plan. That's why you're turning on our world. And he says, wow, this young man in the middle looks intelligent. I have to borrow a leaf from him. Otherwise, technology is worth a topic. It's an indicator of development. Big up NTV. Morning, you really turn on my world. And moving on to some other of your messages. Alinda says, Brian, thanks for the show. Sunday Chef Yusuf says, good morning NTV crew, love you big time. Greetings to Sengoba. And then Mark says here, we are not shaken. Let them take their aid. We are not interested. I think this is in reference to donors and the press review that we had earlier. Some of you are answering the question that we had asked. So, and we do have an HTC phone that we are giving away. It could be the lucky winner. So now we return to Brian at the Kampala Serena Hotel rooftop for the HTC moment.
Every idea we have begins with you. The way you connect. How you browse. How you share. And how you interact with the world around you. Down to the last detail, you inspire everything. Because in the end, innovation doesn't really matter unless it does something that really matters to you. And we are HTC.
8 minutes after 8 o'clock, the morning is awesome. As you run out of your house, you forget that, you have a report to pick up, but also you forget your lunchbox, then you forget your makeup. Especially for the ladies. But thank you so much for joining us. We are live at the Kampala Serena rooftop, and we're coming to you not just on air, on television, but also online. You can stream live
NTVUganda/live on YouTube. Now, our HTC moment, of course, we have given out 4 phones so far, courtesy of HTC, and we're still giving out. We have 40 phones, and Everyday Life, powered by HTC, quietly brilliant, is bringing you this morning an exciting topic. And before we get into that, I'd like to show you some of the awesome features of the HTC Desire 300 that we're giving out. And it has alert type vibration MP3, a WAV ringtone. The loudspeaker is, yes, there's a loudspeaker. You can engage if you're driving. You just put loudspeaker. Or if you want everyone to hear what's going on, there's a loudspeaker. Also a jack pin, 3.5 millimeters. You can connect it to, if you're playing music, connect it to your home theater system or your amplifier, and you can play through that. It has a memory card slot, micro SD of up to 32 GB, an internal memory of 4 GB, 512 MB RAM. And those of us that use the computer definitely know what I'm talking about. So it's a fast machine actually. It has GPRS and of course edge technology, the speed of HSDPA 7.2 Mbps, and it has Wi-Fi. Okay, so if you're in a hotspot, you can switch on Wi-Fi. It has Bluetooth and also a USB port. All right, and you can see some of those features on your screen right now. There's also a camera, and most of us love taking selfies, the famous selfie, and it has 5 megapixel camera and an autofocus. It has features like geotagging, touch focus, face detection, and a video of 30 frames per second. That's your HTC Desire 300. And how do you win it? I'll see Muha giving a testimony on our Twitter saying, I am still learning how to use this phone. There's a manual. Elsie Muha, the phone was brand new. There's a manual, a user's manual. So take a look at it and see how it works. You might be saying, but this guy is telling us about the phone. Where is it? Here is a black version. There's also a white version. This is the black one. Very, very beautiful phone. I own the HTC one, this one, the big one. Kubang, of course, I have to swag gun, but this is the HTC Desire 300. What are the questions that you need to answer to win this phone? What time does Fit and Fab air? That's question number 1. Question number 2 is the host of the big story. Number 3, give any 4 topics that Everyday Life has discussed in the past 2 weeks and name any 3 models of the HTC phones. Send those answers and your name to 6565 and you could be a winner. We'll give out these phones at the end of the week. Remember, it's 4 phones this week. That was your HTC moment. But for parents, do you often find yourself asking your teenagers to remove their headphones so you can speak to them? Well, if you haven't been doing that, you might consider doing it. Statistics show that 1 out of 5 teens has some form of hearing loss due to increased use of headphones. That's coming up on Everyday Life. Stay with us.
Every idea we have begins with you. The way you connect. How you browse. How you share. And how you interact with the world around you. Down to the last detail. You inspire everything. Because in the end, innovation doesn't really matter unless it does something that really matters to you. And we are HTC.
Everyday Life is brought to you by...
And we are HTC.
And this morning on Everyday Life, we're going to look at hearing loss. Most of us think it's very swaggerific to have your headphones. I personally own headphones. Actually, I'll get Ruyonga should send me my headphones, and I love them because they're easy to. But also, you want to be in your own world where you enjoy that one song, just you, and put it on replay, and it works for you. But those headphones could also be dangerous to your ears. And this morning, I'm privileged to have a doctor friend of mine. I would certify her services. Dr. Welcome, Dr. Justin.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Namwagala is
my maiden name.
Your maiden name, and Mukosi
is my married name, my husband's name.
Is there Mugisu?
He's Amsoga.
Mukosi? Yes, please. He sounds like he's from...
He's from the east, from Namsoga.
Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
And, you know, you worked on my wife, so I approve every...
Oh, that glory go back to God.
Oh, amen, amen. Now, we have a phenomenon of hearing loss. First of all, in the work that you do, how serious is this?
In the context, it depends on the context you're bringing it on. It's to do with sound. Hearing loss has different types. There's what we call pathological related to disease. Then there's one we get as a result of noise and noise trauma. And noise trauma has all kinds of ranges. But we're going to talk about the commonest that we face every other day, and that is the earphones, the earphones, the headphones. And recently there are so many patients coming to us in our clinics, in the hospital, complaining of ear pain, ear discomfort, those who work in call centers, those who receive phone calls in hospitals, in all these telecom centers. And it has really become a problem. Right. Yeah.
You know, the statistics here show 1 in 5 teens had some form of hearing loss, and they say it was higher than it was in the 1980s. What happened?
I think, as you mentioned earlier, technology has contributed a great deal, but of course they don't give you the entire package behind the whole scenario. For teenagers, as you know, that for hearing loss as a result of chronic use of chronic exposure to sound depends on the amount of sound energy put on the ear. If it's little, of course, within the ranges within which the ear can pick up, that wouldn't be a problem. But these teenagers put on loud music, or maybe listen to these soaps and maybe want to hear the loudest noise and appreciate the whole thing. So you find that they go beyond what the norm is supposed to be. So when you do it chronically over time, because ideally if you expose your ear to loud noise over a period of time, you damage some sensitive cells in the inner ear, and with time they get fatigued and they get damaged. And unfortunately the damage is permanent. Wow. But ear damage as a result of sound energy is not a one-day show. It's chronic use of headphones.
It's a gradual thing.
It's a gradual thing.
Right.
You damage the cells slowly, but you're getting there. So you find that for teenagers, young teenagers and the youth, they love loud music, they move around with it, they don't care about the volume.
It kind of helps you to just, close the world and you're just alone, listening to whatever you're listening to.
But if at all you knew that remember if you damage your motherboard of the computer, it's kind of permanent damage. And also those sensitive cells that convert sound energy into electrical energy are very, very delicate. So when you listen to this music and having fun, you're damaging those cells slowly but surely and the nerves. And you find that, of course, they are like a keyboard. Each one of them detects particular sounds and frequencies. So that very loud sound, initially the body has a protective mechanism or a filtering mechanism to protect it from getting into the inner ear. But you find that if you're chronically exposed, you find that protective mechanism is not ever ready. Like, for example, if you brake suddenly, you jerk and the car overrolls. Yes. So you find that your body compensatory mechanism is affected if you chronically pump it with that kind of sound energy. So with time, you find that if you're exposing your sound energy to a level of 80 decibels and above, that is really loud. Like someone who shouts, that is a loud sound that gets to your ear. That is really, really what would assess as a loud noise.
So the recommended is 80.
80 and below decibels of sound energy.
We have phones that, will not tell us that, hey, good, you're now going to 85, reduce.
That someone else can hear you speak. For example, if you put your phone loud and someone else can pick up your conversation, that is really loud for your ear. So that can help you gauge. For example, if you shout from the opposite room, you can really feel that person is really loud.
Yes.
That can help you gauge generally. Then for example, in places where there are industries, of course they have to measure sound level, they have to have sound level meters to assess the sound levels of their employees in that area. So for that one, if it's above 80 decibels, they have to wear ear protectors to protect their ears. Yeah, to protect their ears from that very loud sound. But unfortunately, in places where there are blasts, stone blasts, where there are no ear protectors, there are no environmental kind of thing, you find that those people are really exposed and they don't know what danger they are getting themselves into. But back to the social people, the young guys, the campusers, the youthful people, people who love to watch movies the whole night and put on loudspeakers, with time, you head towards damage. But what happens to places like call centers? The call centers, the volume is low. It is low, it is within the normal range. What happens in that scenario? You find that the patients, the clients or the people who work there, they get tired because the ear is working continuously the whole day. So you kind of get fatigued, you get pain, you get discomfort. So they come to you saying, I feel uncomfortable, I feel pain. And sometimes one of the symptoms, they come sometimes with noises in the ear. They feel some kind of noise in that ear because of that discomfort. The noise is telling you something that, hey, you rest.
I think even for me personally, like at 9 a.m. when I'm done with the show, this ear hurts because I have to wear this. I was a bit worried that with this, I'm also in danger.
No, you are not in danger. As long as the sound getting into your ear is within the normal range. It is not above 80. And I know it is because most of these gadgets, since you're working in the telecommunication kind of network, most of these gadgets have their sound limits internationally approved. So you find that, of course, they have the interest of the employee being protected. The only problems are in the industries and also where you don't have control, like discotheques, where you don't have control, like when you go for a reception and you're seated right next to a loudspeaker that people really want to hear the maximum and dance. So you find that if you sit, they don't know how to use them, they're not educated about it, they don't even care, they're just enjoying that. The louder the music, the better and the more excitement. But hey, if you do that over years, that loud noise, maybe above 80 decibels, can cause problems to your ear.
Well, if you're just joining us, with Dr. Justin from SAS now?
Mulago Hospital.
From Mulago Hospital. And she's telling us about hearing loss. And you might have been a victim or about to be a victim because of the chronic use of the headphones. I know people who will tell me, I watch movies up to 5 a.m. You're obviously not using the TV because you're in your parents' house and you're on your laptop. But how serious is this to your health? Please send in your questions and comments on our Twitter handle at morning@ntv and our Facebook page, morning@ntv. You can also use the SMS line to 6565. Doctor, how do you know that I think I'm on the way to hearing loss? What are those signs?
There's what you call general assessment. You can start with general assessment. For example, if someone comes to you, like at home, if you're talking to someone, but someone is telling you, can you speak louder? I can't hear you. Yeah, when you're close to each other, someone wants you to increase your volume. But if that is like, for example, if someone has what we call conductive hearing loss, whereby the conductive bit of it has a problem. But if someone is really getting there, at times when you talk to them in the normal volume, they don't seem to hear you or don't seem to get you. For example, the type of ear damage in noise or sound energy, in sound damage is usually sensorineural hearing loss. And that is where the nerve, the sensor organ, the cochlea and the nerve are damaged. So that is where your interpretation, your sound energy is converted into electrical energy and taken to the brain after it has been magnified. So you find that at that point, when you're talking to somebody, they don't seem to understand what you're talking about because however loud you're speaking, they're like, what are you saying? Because they haven't picked it. So they don't, you ask someone, how are you? Then it's like, where do you stay? What are you telling me? I stay in Kampala. You're not coordinating. That's when you know that there is a problem. But initially, they can tell that, please increase the volume. I can't hear. Some people tell you that when they go to a marketplace, that excessive noise, that extra noise, that loud noise in the crowd makes them feel uncomfortable. Others, one of the earliest sounds is tinnitus. When they feel that persistent sound, because that really shows you that there's a problem within the middle ear, but also the inner ear.
Right.
So you find that those are the early signs. And they usually come in, because hearing is very important. When you're not communicating, you're completely cut off from the hearing network. So they come in early. But generally, if someone is talking to you, I do remember 7 years ago, I was in a clinic, and this young gentleman of 25-year-old came in and had been using, those errands of the Walkman. And people have this head big. He had been using it like for 3-4 years. And when he came in and was like, "Doctor, you're talking to me, but I cannot pick what you're saying."
Wow.
He was as it had damaged the speech frequencies in his organ of Corti. So you find that for him, actually he had sensorineural hearing loss, he had damage, and he actually admitted that he had been here using the headphone day in, day out for almost 3-4 years, non-stop on loud music. Remember that era of music and people putting on and dancing on the streets compared to these modern, small, tiny headphones that are hardless, in those huge ones. And you'd really feel the music right in the middle of your head. He really got...
Wow.
Yeah, but that happens for extreme cases, chronic exposure, and also the amount of energy. Those are two principles. Then the third one I have forgotten. Some people have their issues. Your ear, maybe when you were young, you had maybe a hearing loss of sorts, maybe you took quinine, but your ears didn't recover completely. Maybe you've been on some kind of treatment that affected your ears. Maybe you had trauma to the ear. So when you chronically expose that damaged ear, of course the symptoms come on earlier than usual. Then for people who work in these call centers, it's very, very important for the employers to do a pre-employment audiology test.
A pre-employment audiology test.
That one is very important to find out this person you're going to take on. How is the hearing? Are we speaking? Are we within the normal? Has he got a problem?
You must find out if your employee...
It is important, because supposing you take on this person who has problems, which most of you people do, then along the way he's exposed to this sound and probably he's not well protected and gets a problem. Then he will accuse you.
He can sue you.
Yeah, he can accuse you that it's because I'm working in your place and because of all this loud sound, I have this
I doubt
disability.
Whether employers do that.
Some people have started doing it, but on a private basis. I think MTN and also some industries in Tienda, industrial area, some of them do it because of these things that are coming up. Then also Hima Cement, roofings, I think they've started doing it, but they have private contracts with audiology centers and Mulago, and they do it. But it's not widely known. But even you as an employee, it would be good for you to do it for your personal. It is your health, it's your pair of ears that are at stake. So it's wiser for you to go out there and assess yourself and know where you stand.
You do hearing tests.
We do hearing tests, a wide range of them.
And how does that work? How do you know that my ear is good?
Of course, we have what we call audiometers. Okay, there's that basic of clinical examination whereby you assess somebody. Do you speak normal conversation? Does he pick up the network? Do you have to shout? Then we have what we call tuning fork tests, but those ones are basically medical. But then we also have what we have audiometers that measure the degree of hearing loss, how badly off. Because actually what they do, there's a graph that is drawn against the normal set of youthful people who are assessed in a very quiet environment. So you find that you are assessed against that graph is a 0 in quotes. So you're assessed against that graph. So you find that normal hearing is between 0 and 20, mild hearing loss 20 to 40, moderate. There's a way in which you interpret, but there's a gadget that actually assesses hearing. But that one assesses degree of hearing. Then there are others that assess severity of hearing and others, but that one is a basic we call screening audiometry.
Really serious, because I also do some video editing, and I need headphones all the time, every time I'm on that computer. So I'm also understanding I should come and do a hearing test,
just to know where you are as a person. It's like when you go for an HIV test, when you go for your BPs, when you go and check out your heart, you go and check out all these other things. It would be good for you to know, how is my hearing? I've been using headphones, I've been using earphones, I've been doing this and that with my ears. How safe are my ears? How good are they? Then in view of that, of course, many of our people here don't take good care of their ears. One way is that some people can have wax until you can visually see it.
Yes, I've seen
some people are really lazy. Some people have what we call sinusitis, and when you have allergy, you know, some people said, I sneezed and I got ear pain. When you take care of because as you can know, ear, nose and throat, they are all functionally related, anatomically related.
Yes.
When you have this area affected, you have to also take care of your ear, because of course it will get affected. Two, so you find that generally we have to have a habit of taking care of ourselves, number one, generally, and then specifically the ears. Yeah. But of course, when you're editing yourself, if it's not as loud, you know, you can assess loudness if your neighbor can hear what you're hearing on phone, on the headphones. Then you know that is really pretty loud. So that's when you really have to come in and lower the volume. But I think you also have to go through some kind of training by one of us, maybe an audiologist, maybe an ENT, to kind of educate you about sound, sound energy, what is safe and what is not safe. And actually that is much better than rehabilitation, because the damage the sound energy causes is permanent damage. It is not temporary. Okay, it's damage on a very sensitive tissue. It's like when you damage your eye, blind and you're blind and you're blind.
And
they cannot repair.
Yes.
You get what I mean? So it's the same thing with the ear. And by the time people come to us with hearing loss, most of them come when it's more or less profound deafness, whereby you only have to use something like hearing aids, which is not so helpful. So it helps a bit, but you cannot get your other normal hearing as you always have loved it.
Right. A couple of messages on Facebook, and please feel free to send those messages. And Gabriele Amos saying, interesting program. We all do hearing using different gadgets like earphones among others. But still, for people like us who use phones every time, we use eyes as well repeatedly on a daily basis. Like in bed, you tend to use your phone to watch a show like this. And this person uses their phone. In the process, we are in bed or in a taxi. How safe are we with our eyes and ears? And this is also very crucial. Which type of earphones are you advising us to use? Are there particular earphones that are safe to use? Because now I think most people recommend Beats by Dre. Those ones are very popular. Some people don't want Sony phones. Let me just quickly go through also these messages. Odong Geoffrey saying, when I started using headphones to listen to music, I felt a lot of pains in my ears.
Chronic fatigue.
Doctor, please help. I know they are bad, but what I can say is that those who use them are the ones who make them bad and try to eat swag. Direct translation. Emmanuel John Namasa saying, some of us with smartphones have maximum volume for ear safety, such that the moment you exceed that, the phone will display for you that you don't need to cross
Actually,
that.
those would have been the ideal.
Yes.
Ideal, we're supposed to have, it's like, for example, when you have your thermostats, whereby if the temperature goes high, to protect your equipment,
right.
It's right. So if we can get those earphones that can kind of protect the ear, that the sound energy that is getting into the ear, that's getting into the ear, that sound energy, the excessive one, it kind of switches it off automatically. That would really help a lot. Then of course when you start feeling, as I told you, that the ear gets fatigued. Maybe you're using these earphones, but the volume is normal, but you're using them all the time, 24/7. I mean, most of the day, morning to evening. Imagine you're carrying something without putting it down for more than 12 hours.
Yes.
You would feel that pain. You would feel that discomfort. It's the same thing with these ears. It's a way of communicating to you that, hey, you've exhausted me, you need to rest. And this also goes for telecommunication companies. If someone's working at a call center and they work from 8 to 8, Monday to Sunday, maybe 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. Monday to Sunday, over a period of time, they get that kind of ear distress, ear discomfort, ear pain, headache, and sometimes they begin to hear those noises in the ears. So for such people, it's good to give them breaks. 4 hours, you work there, then you change a station, someone works. So at least you're exposed for a certain time, your ears rest from that noise, then you go back. You get it? Right. But if you have things like flu, cough, you have issues with your ears, and then you add on that, the discomfort is exaggerated.
Yes.
So that's why I'm telling you that all these things, you have to assess yourself prior to usage, during usage, after.
Right.
But if you're the kind of person who works in these companies, whereby obviously headphones are the way to survive, then you have to do a pre-audiology Assessment. Pre-employment audiology assessment, number one.
Is that
number
the same
two,
thing? Sorry. Is that the same thing also that is, there's a condition that I hear about tinnitus?
Tinnitus is like, if someone has fever, when they have malaria, it's like a symptom. It's like a symptom. Someone comes complaining, I hear noises in my ear. These noises can be from without, they can be from within. It's really a big topic.
Right.
But some people, it can be pathological, whereby there's really a problem, or even people who have psychiatric problems can also complain of what we call auditory hallucinations. But tinnitus is real. Like, for example, if you have chronic, when you have like, sometimes you use it to assess, like if you have a problem with your inner ear, even middle ear, even wax, people come and feel insects and things, and when you examine, there's this kilo of wax in the canal and you have to remove it. It's a symptom telling you there's a problem.
There's a problem
in
with
the
your
ear. Now, we have to start from A to Z. Is the problem in the outer ear, you get rid of that one. In the middle ear, you do tests. In the inner ear, you do other tests.
Right.
So you go on assessing that problem.
Right.
But even people with sound damage, I mean, people with damage as a result of sound exposure, chronic sound exposure in high amounts, in large amounts, complain of that symptom, tinnitus.
Right.
So it is real.
It is real.
It's there.
We'll bring you back, talk about tinnitus, and also a couple of gadgets, those things that you use. I'll probably need to come to the hospital to shoot that. But the rest of you can also post your questions on our Facebook page. Dr. Justin this morning talking about hearing loss and what you can do to make sure that your ears are not damaged. And I will be looking at that this morning on Everyday Life, powered by HTC Quietly Brilliant. And next time we'll also come and talk about the throat, because I've not been wearing ties for literally half of my life, and now I feel like my throat is hurting. Is that the tie, or I need to do a?
You have to do, it's nothing to do with that tie, because ideally everyone with a tie would be, there is a problem within.
Doctor, today
that is a throat discomfort. But look at the weather, probably there is a flu around. There are so many causes.
Doctor, I'm coming to your office after this show. And let's link over to Isma, who is standing by for the sports update. Isma, Manchester United going down as usual. What's up next for the other sports lovers?
Good morning, and when we get back from the break, we'll be discussing one of the lowest points of David Moyes' time as Manchester United manager, as United got beat in Greece last night, and also look ahead to what Jose Mourinho said about his reunion with Wesley Sneijder and Didier Drogba, plus his comments about the lack of strikers, actually calling Samuel Eto'o 32 and probably saying maybe Eto'o is 35. Will that affect Chelsea as they travel to Turkey today? All that and more when we get to the sports segment of Morning at NTV.
Thank you so much, Isma. The rest of you stand by. Sports will be here in about 2 minutes with Brian, Isma, and Mabel. Good morning.
Everyday Life was brought to you by...
And we are HTC. Every idea we have begins with you. The way you connect.
Good morning.
How you browse. How you share. And how you interact with the world around you.
Your relationship with your God is the most important thing.
Have a company of people who have got a similar mindset. How do you want people to think, feel, and act after your talk? In other words, what's your objective?
You inspire everything. Because in the end, innovation doesn't really matter unless it does something that really matters to you. And we are HTC.
A wife who you got through the office will be very insecure about you working in another place.
Always hunt up, don't hunt down.
You mean what? Go after your superior?
How dare you suggest that when a woman is aggressed against, we should look at the person who's been aggressed against?
Let the couple be. Let them sort out their issues. When they need you, then you'll come in.
Prostitution is being given a new brand.
All I know is that I connect people.
Some call it skinny dipping, others call it chitwe.
If it's a principle for you, then the cookie should not hold you hostage. Let's not choose to open our zips and do whatever our urge is, because I don't think that an urge is stronger than your will to say no.
People attach a lot of questions, shame to HIV.
I do not believe that when you wear a short dress, you should be around.
Marrying a wife is like having assured sex.
Anytime you come, you must have.
Yes.
To raise a population that has no clue how to be men.
Can you bring out a quality family?
I don't get married for my family.
Men, every Wednesday only on NTV.
I'm gonna blow your mind and I'm gonna twist your taste buds. The flavors are already coming together. I can feel them. Very lovely, very appetizing, very healthy. Remember, the way you see it, the way you like it, is the way you get it from my kitchen to your kitchen.
I was going to my hall, someone came from my back and was
How? Tugenda okwebaka ekiro. Yanga mwami omanyi? Webakeko nange omulundi gw'ogusembayo.
I went to the nurse and I asked why. Why is it that our father is negative and for us we are positive?
Every time I find a story of assault of one person to another, I get disturbed.
Mwayombye ekiro lwaleeta suzeewo lwe bakwokezza. Nazeepoza kimu nti mujja wange yanjokezza.
Kino ekyafa kino kyali kyakulira muno mu lubuto.
The Irene I know just loves music and loves to sing. I've never seen her even smoke a cigarette.
The days of legal trade in slaves are history, following its abolition in the 1800s.
They tie you like this. That's when I started getting past.
Everybody has a story, but yours will only become our story when you share it.
Marriage is tough, but you suck it up and you stick through the good times and the bad times. What kind of example are you setting for your sister who is about to walk down the aisle herself?
Shut up, Nandi. Seriously, you just keep poking and poking at other people's relationships. You're like a cancer.
Ati, I hope you're discussing fashion. Because you have everything under control, yes? And the only crisis you're going to have is you clashing with the red carpet.
We've made mistakes. And that's what marriage is all about. Mistakes and forgiveness. For better or for worse.
I'm sorry, but I've got to ask.
Nothing happened between me and Lucia.
Well, Lulu is not here, and if she comes, I'll let her know you're here. You picked the wrong person to mess with, Lucy.
A very good morning to you, ladies and gentlemen. If you're just joining us, welcome to Morning at NTV. We have about 15 minutes to say bye-bye, but also sipping on some coffee without sugar. Abai, government here to yambe. Well, producer to yambe kuano kubanga tufa.
Ben, I have an issue with you. You didn't tell us yesterday was your wedding anniversary.
Now, what are you doing?
Yes. We'll talk about it at the end, but
probably watching. But
you talked about it this morning.
You well, you forget me problems. But moving on to sports, let's talk about sports, right? Yeah. KCCA leaving in the wee hours of this morning to go and play the Nkanare Devils in Zambia. Do you think they are going to bring back the result? They did a fantastic job with Elmerick. But also tell us about the rift between Simbe and Micho.
First of all, cases have a very bad record against Nkana Red Devils. They haven't played one another for 20 years, but when the last time they did face one another, Nkana beat up on cases by 4 goals to 0.
And Simbe was a player.
He was a player in that team, so he knows how painful that was. Probably it's a chance for him to get revenge. But ever since he got into coaching and his first stint at KCC back in 2008-9, the away fixtures beat up on Ferroviario de Maputo. They managed to draw with El Merica away from home, and then they didn't lose to SuperSport in South Africa. So they've been a better team away from home than they've been at home throughout his time. And like you said, even in the last round against El Meric, they won in Sudan and only lost the game here, but probably had done enough to win that 3-2 on aggregate. So I find that as something of a positive, and Nsimbe will know that as they go to Zambia, as they went to Zambia this morning, they could go and get the result, and the result which will be very important for them playing at home. Then the second part of the question about Nsimbe, I was surprised how this whole thing came up, because KCC playing in Zambia on Saturday, and then Uganda Cranes plays Zambia on Wednesday, which is March 1st and March 5th, just 4 days between the two games. And then Mitchell, the national team coach, did call 3 KCC players to his team: Ivan Intege, Tony Odu, and Brian Majwega. Now Nsimbe insists that come rain or shine, whether Mitchell has a shrine back in Serbia, these players won't stay there to play for Uganda, because he thinks they'll suffer a bit of a burnout. And for me, this being a friendly...
And when is the return leg?
The KCC one should be the other week. It should be next week.
So they have to come back with KCCA and rest
prepare for the next game. Now, that's where the
leg
problem comes in. But for me, before this comes into the media, Mitchell ought to have consulted. He ought to have consulted. And I see many African teams are going to face the same thing. Those that are going to have friendlies on March 5th. At the same time, Zambia, for example, have 3 players from the Nkana Red Devils team that KCC are going to play. But luckily for them, they are playing a home fixture. So there's not any amount of travel to drain the players. That would be very positive for Nkana Red Devils. Now, that doesn't work for KCC, who have to travel away from home, have their players play 2 games in 4 days, and then come back here. I'm hoping that today when Mitchell goes out to name his final team, because there are 25 players, that this has been sorted amicably, that the KCC players are ignored, because I don't find this the most important friendly. It could be on an international FIFA date, but how important are Tony Odu, Ivan Intega, and Brian Majega going to be in a friendly, probably for the ranking points that of all the players he called the 25, he cannot choose other players in those positions, because first of all, I don't even think Ivan Intega would start this game. With Tony Maweja and the other players coming in, the professionals. I don't think Brian Majwega warrants to be in this game. He's not been playing that great. Chizito Luwaga should be given a chance in this one. I don't know whether Tony Odu too needs to be playing in this one. Probably Eunice Centam. I would have preferred Eunice Centam for this one, but it's not even part of the 25. So while there's all this argument between Nsimbe and the national team coach, for me, it's something that has been brought on to himself. I mean Mitchell. This has been brought on to Mitchell by himself for not consulting KCC before choosing the team.
Isn't this the problem that I guess at one point European teams were facing with European national teams? Who has the power when the national coach wants those players? Does the club have the right to say no, or the national team has to ask for permission from the club?
There's a balance in the FIFA rules that if you're called to the national team, you cannot play for your club in a gap of 5 days. And for many players, it's such an honor to play for their national team beyond the club. Yeah. But I think in Europe, it's totally different, because for them, their argument is normally about the injuries. That's why I promise you, Bran, when we come here on Monday, after the Premier League games, the internationals next week across Europe on Wednesday. Half of the clubs are going to declare their players injured. Just protect them for not playing for the national team, because it comes at a very crucial time in the season. Yes. They are playing in the Champions League. They are playing, many of them are fighting for their league titles. There's just about 10 games to go. That's why I find some of these friendlies irrelevant. I know where the national team players, the national team coaches are coming from. They need these games. They won't get any other chance to prepare their teams for the World Cup. But I think having them in the midweek, probably it's better if there was an entire week where there are no games and then the internationals come up the way the qualifiers are held. But have a friendly in midweek when players, for example, you have to play if you're a Chelsea player in a Capital One Cup, a Man City player, a Capital One Cup final on Sunday against Sunderland, and then the following week an FA Cup quarter-final against Wigan. Then in between, you have to travel and play for your national team. It's a little bit too inconsiderate the way FIFA organizes their calendar for me.
Okay, but still staying in Europe, Manchester United losing 2 Neil to Olympiacos. Really, can they go any lower? I mean, we've talked about them going lower, but it seems they're still going lower. But was Olympiacos that good?
First of all, I thought they deserved everything they got from this game. They were the more consistent team in terms of keeping the ball. They really pressed on Man United. While watching this game, after 30 minutes, I realized there is no difference between these teams. United have won the Champions League in 2008, 1999, way back with the Busby Babes in the 60s. I couldn't tell the difference between Man United and Olympiacos for 30 minutes. And for me, I always find the difference that when you're playing a team that does not have the stature that you do, then you don't give them a chance. Now United gave Olympiacos a chance, and they took it with two hands. And for me, the first goal was a bit unlucky for United to concede. That shot could never have been going in had David De Gea got there. But then it had a deflection of Alejandro Dominguez, who had warned people yesterday that he's probably their best player at Olympiacos, and with Saviola out injured. But I thought they were very good for the result. They defended resolutely. When they took the lead, they didn't just fall into their shells even at 1-0. They went for a second. A brilliant goal from Joel Campbell, who is on loan from the Arsenal. That should be very good to hear from Arsenal fans that an Arsenal player is beating Man United. And then also, even at 2-0, United, Olympiacos still went for the result. They really went for the result. And for me, that is something. For a team that had not won in the knockout stages in Europe on 6 attempts, this is probably the biggest result in the history of Olympiacos, and probably the fans of Olympiacos noticed that. And you said, can United go any lower? In terms of performances, probably David Moyes has had so many lows. This was as inept, as inert, as noble, as ineffective, as ineffectual a result that United have had.
We have another Joel.
Yeah, the performance was totally unforgivable. For a team of United's stature, you don't come out and play this way. I don't know what, for example, Chris Smalling was doing on the pitch. Defensively was very poor. He was skinned by the guy who was attacking, I think he's called Herrera. In the middle, Tom Clever was totally inexistent. Okay, he's been inexistent for the entire season, but this was probably the worst he's played. Antonio Valencia couldn't get to the ball at all, and the Olympiacos players knew it because they know he will always go to the line, so they didn't have to bother him that much. Ashley Young had probably played about 15% of his abilities. That meant that Van Persie was isolated at the front, and when couldn't get to the ball. So in terms of the performance, the entire United team, most of them were below 50%. And when you play like that, you don't win games in Europe, regardless of how poor the team you're playing is. They were very, very, very poor for me, United. And as I'll repeat, this is probably, David Moyes has had so many poor performances with this United team. Probably this is, for me, their worst performance this season. It's got to be.
Kabanza Isaac on Facebook saying, if this season ends with Man U in 6th place, can they go to Champions League?
No, they won't. Only 4 teams would qualify for the
Champions League. They only play Europa.
And that Europa would only be possible if, for example, the team that wins the Capital One Cup is Sunderland, or if Sunderland, for example, in the final, I think they'll play in the Europa League because Man City will be in the Champions League. Something like that. If the team in the Capital One Cup wasn't Sunderland, it was a team in the top 4, then they would qualify for the Europa League. But if they finish 6th, they are out.
There's a likelihood that they won't be playing in Europe, next season.
Brian, I think we should stop laughing at Man U.
I'm not laughing at Manchester. No. I'm actually feeling sorry.
But they could still turn this around.
Richard,
the only problem I have with them is that the moment Olympiacos come to Old Trafford and score just 1 goal, United will have to score 4. And that United defense has been leaking goals. If Olympiacos score once, United will need 4 goals. So it's going to be, for me, the return leg is going to be the kind of game where United have to play their best game of the season.
I have a lot of respect for Manchester United because they know how to turn it on when they are playing us. And even in our best time, Manchester beats up on us. So I have a lot of respect for them, despite the fact that they are losing. Of course, this is so. Why are you guys, beating up on Man U fans laughed loud when Arsenal lost to Bayern. Arsenal made a lot of attempts at least. But if you watch last night's match, United need prayers.
2 shots on target.
Has Zenit also joined Leverkusen, Arsenal, AC Milan, Man City on the exit path?
I think Zenit are out.
They lost.
They lost at home to Dortmund by 4 goals to 2.
Those were so many goals.
Yeah, you don't concede 4 goals at home. They conceded the same number at Leverkusen shipped in against PSG, and Lewandowski scoring twice. And for me, I thought the game was done before it started because Dortmund scored twice in the first 5 minutes. And I always feared for Zenit that because of the winter in Russia, they've not played a competitive game for 2 months. They've only been playing friendlies. And they didn't switch on until, for me, about 50 minutes. And that's that's too late for them. And when you go to kneel down against a team that can keep the ball like Dortmund, Henrik Mkhitaryan among the goals, they didn't give themselves a chance for me as Zenit. They got 2 goals, but even for all the problems that Dortmund have had this season, and defensively they were very poor again, and that's been a song of the season, is that I don't fancy Zenit to go to Dortmund and win by probably by 4 goals to 4 extra time. Because with these 4 goals, that means Zenit must score at least 3 goals to 0 to win the game. I don't see Dortmund not scoring a goal at home. They're good for a goal on any day against any team. So I think Dortmund, like PSG, like Bayern, like Barcelona, and Atletico Madrid, should be in the last 8.
Well, let's move on to also Cristiano Ronaldo returning to the Real Madrid side for the tie against Schalke. How much of a difference is this going to bring? Because I think he's an extraordinary guy. He has played 41 games, scored 44 goals.
This season?
More
goals than games. And probably the numbers tell the entire story about what the influence that Cristiano Ronaldo is. And you know, he was World Player of the Year last year for 2013. And for me, for a player like Ronaldo who doesn't get a chance to rest, probably this is the best thing that has happened to him. That red card is the best thing to happen to his season, because now he'll come back rested and hungry.
Yes.
And that's why I fear for Schalke. Like all the home teams that have been losing, Ronaldo for me looks like one who will come and score twice tonight. And when he does that, Schalke, for all their abilities, they will be very good going for Jefferson Fafa and Julian Draxler, who came back, who was just recently returned to the team about 10 days ago. The boy was been linked to Arsenal over the past months or so. I see Real Madrid just doing enough, because when Ronaldo is on the team, you're almost guaranteed some kind of goals. Only Zlatan has scored more than him in Europe. Ronaldo has 9, and then Zlatan has 10. So, and I fancy Ronaldo to finish as top scorer in the Champions League this season. So, this is the kind of game where Ronaldo is going to have a big difference, because just of the hunger and because he's well rested.
Okay, another big game today, Galatasaray and Chelsea. We see Didier Drogba meeting his former boss, Jose Mourinho. I don't know if you've heard, but they were saying Mourinho actually made some comments saying that he has no strikers. It was a private conversation that leaked. So I don't know if I was a striker in Chelsea, how I'd feel if my boss said, I have no strikers.
First of all, it's very disrespectful. It shows that Mourinho is from the gutter, and that's how he thinks, because these comments, of course, were made in private conversation and eventually aired in France, because Canal Plus got the conversation. Actually, for me, the most unfortunate comment from everything he said, when he said, I don't have a striker, then said, look at it. Samuel Eto'o is 32, maybe 35. And okay, we know about African players cheating and altering their age after Joseph Minala's stay with Lazio. But I think it's totally disrespectful for Jose Mourinho, because these are the same people who are going to make you. You don't win. You don't only win because you're a good coach. You win because you have a synergy with your players, because the players put your methods when they go to the pitch. Because on the touchline, you can scream as much as you want. The players may not do exactly what you want, but players will do it. But probably he's hinting on something, that Chelsea have got to buy a striker. On the other hand, the Chelsea have struggled to score. You look at Torres, Demba and Samuel Eto'o, the goals haven't been coming. For example, I think Eto'o has only 11 in 27, ever since he signed for them from Anzima Kashkala. So it's been a bit of a worry for Chelsea. But now, they need to get a goal from in Turkey. Galatasaray guarantee you goals. And like you say, Didier Drogba, there's Didier Drogba on one side, then there's Wesley Schneider.
Probably they've been really good.
Yeah, they've been really good in the Champions. They are the reason why Juventus...
Their last game in the Champions League.
Yeah, against Juventus, which they won. That had to be rescheduled. They are the reason Juventus are in the Europa League. So that's a team that can play on the continent. 2 is that Galatasaray have the players who know how to compete in Europe, because they gather these players from the teams that play in Europe, in the Champions League. Albert Riela, who came from Liverpool, Didier Drogba, Wesley Schneider, Felipe Melo, Fernando Maslera. You look at their team, and they are all players with the European experience. They won't treat this as an occasion they haven't been to. And of course, Galatasaray have had some great results over the years. I remember one when they beat up on Real Madrid several years ago, I think back in 2000 or 1999-2000, coming from 2 goals now to beat up on Real Madrid by 3 goals to 2. That was probably the greatest Galatasaray side under Fatih Terim. But with the kind of experience they have, I think they'll compete. Chelsea, of all the English teams, probably have one of the toughest fixtures relative to Arsenal, who are playing Bayern, who have been the best side in Europe. But Chelsea, my biggest fear for them is that they may not have the kind of defensive grid they will get because they don't have David Luiz tonight.
Yeah.
They don't have Nemanja Matic. Nemanja Matic is captain and David Luiz is out injured. So when Galatasaray, a team that know how to attack and keep the ball, if they come at them, Chelsea have got to defend much better. I want to see Mikel and Ramirez drop much deeper to pick the ball. And then on the other hand, I would love to see Chelsea try to shoot a lot at Marcelera because for me, that's going to be their best chance to score. I don't think they'll get into the box enough, but they've got to get an away goal. The only way Chelsea will go through is if they get an away goal. If they lose 2-0 at Galatasaray, for me, they're as good as out because Galatasaray will be good for a goal at Stamford Bridge and Chelsea don't defend that well. So they don't defend that well, especially in Europe. They've defended very well in the Premier League, but in Europe they haven't been as solid as they should be.
Right.
So this should be a very close game, but over 2 legs, I'd give it to Chelsea to nick it.
Well, let's see if Didier Drogba pays back. I also respect Drogba because he always punished Arsenal. So I know everyone that punishes Arsenal.
You keep them in a little bad
black book. One day when I meet Drogba, I'll tell him, boss.
Actually, one of the things I like from Didier Drogba's book, and I read excerpts of it, he said one of the reasons why he worked so hard while at Chelsea is that his son always loved Thierry Henry. So he wanted to always go home and prove to his son that I'm better than Henry. So the result was him beating up on us.
Oh, that boy. That boy beat us so much. And yeah, massive respect. Catch more of the sports on Omumuri at 1:30 p.m. with Isma and Lumanse. But also, don't forget, every Monday coming to you live from Club Silk, that is Sports Bar at 10:30 p.m. Before we wrap up, African Proverb is here.
The African proverb.
Well, today's African proverb, Mabel.
A child does not laugh at the ugliness of its mother.
Hmm?
A child does not laugh at the ugliness of its mother. You actually do not choose your parents, do you?
We don't.
So
is this out of respect, or it's one of those things that we are told because we are supposed to be respectful, or we are told because they are our parents that we are not supposed to find any glitch about them? Or is it taught out of respect, or it's actually the truth, you can't see it? Brian is at a loss of words.
I'm trying to, kind of visualize how can you
even laugh at your mom?
How can you even
dare laugh, yeah.
To even think that, I think it's one of those things that you never think about.
When you're younger, though, when you're like in your teens, you may not necessarily want to be seen with your parents. So,
because
but I think
boring.
They're boring, and you may like, oh, you wear old-fashioned clothes, you wear what. But I think when you grow up, you appreciate your parents more.
Yeah, when you're young, you appreciate them because they bring you that big bomb suit, the sweet, and then you get chocolate. And when you're older, because you want to share their wisdom, you're their friend again. Yeah, it's only when you're going through mainly between senior 2 and senior 5, you don't share too much. There isn't so much about you that is in common.
I also know a couple of, I went to school with a couple of students in Naenga. When their parents come to school, you want to see the parents. Because their parents looked good. Don't say you didn't go through that. Their parents
I was too young to notice such things.
Their parents look so good. So, I was telling my husband, I want to look so good that when I go visit my children at their school, everyone is like, oh, that guy has dope parents. That's how. But, I don't think you can dare to even say your parents are ugly. Quick comments on our Facebook page. Brian, thanks for the show. Do headsets have the same effect to those working from the noisy places? Doctor answered that. And good morning, guys. You are really cool. I'm trying to win an HTC. Naebi Zivu. Thanks for the show. Morning, guys. You really killed morning show competition. You're the best. And someone here thanking Dr. Justin and talking about safety. We'll put up Dr. Justin's phone number on our Facebook page and our Twitter. You can call her, and or alternatively just go to Mulago Hospital and ask those questions, get tested. And until tomorrow, want to say hasta la vista, baby.
Terminator.
turning on your world.
It's easy to believe that God is ordering your steps when they take you down a smooth, easy path. But what about when your steps take you to rough places?
Kimberly Ray was just 3 years old the first time she was raped.
Mary Johnson's only son, Loramian, was killed by 4 gunshots.
So at the very tender age of 9, sex, drugs, and alcohol.
I was thinking about getting married. And when this happened,
my wife would be killed in a car accident.
It's painful. When you allow the Holy Spirit to release you.
Once I took God to those secret places in my life that I never shared with no one human on this earth, I felt a sense of peace.
You are a spirit being, and the only way you can get fulfillment in that spirit is from God. Jesus Christ can bring happiness, He can bring peace, and give you a new beginning.
Soon on NTV.
Many generations ago, the warrior Apoena from the Karaway tribe fell in love with young Antonia. When they returned to the Araguaia River with the young white girl carrying their child, they awoke Iaru's hatred. Raised away from the curse, Solano Rangel, the last descendant of Antonia and Apoena, returns to uncover his roots, but he couldn't resist Estella's charm. But she keeps a secret in the past.
Estella.
Her real name is Estrella Karaway, and her destiny